Welcome, welcome, welcome. Surprise, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in these United States on planet Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy in this universe of ours. Welcome to Election Day 2020. You made it. We're all here. We made it. The end of the 2020 election cycle. You made it. Congratulations. We're here. And most of us are still alive. We're all here. We made it. You did it. Congratulations, America. We're here. Not used to hearing my voice on a Tuesday? Well, guess what? I'm not used to it either. Surprise, surprise. We're all here. As you know, on occasion, we'll do a special edition of the Kennedy Effect, and today is one of those days. I'm Jeff Kennedy. Surprise if you're not used to hearing me on such days. This is me, everyone. If you're not used to hearing me, you normally hear me on Sunday evenings from 5 p.m. I host a program called The Kennedy Effect. Well, today we're hosting a program called, surprise, surprise, The Kennedy Effect. It is a special edition of The Kennedy Effect, Election Day 2020. I am normally not here on a Tuesday. I'm normally not here at 3 p.m. And we're trying to do a little something different today. And let me tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do. Let me tell you everything about what we're trying to do. What we do let me first tell you about what the Kennedy Effect does. If you're not if you're not a regular listener or viewer to the Kennedy Effect, let me tell you what we do. Every Sunday evening from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m., we host guests, take calls, take emails, take tweets now, and host an interactive chat program about history, politics, the issues of the day, current events, and so on. And we do that every Sunday from 5 p.m., generally until 8:30, 9 p.m., depending on how the conversation takes us. We do that every single Sunday night across 50 to 60 different platforms on Facebook, and of course to all of you, our sisters and brothers, friends and family on hot101.net. And we're going to do something very similar to that here today. What's different about today is that I have no co-host. I have no guests currently lined up, although I did spread the word far and wide that we would be on the air. What I want to do today is, of course, it's election day. It is National Election Day, the end of a presidential election cycle. The entire House of Representatives, U.S. House of Representatives, is up for election. 1/3 of the United States Senate is up for election. Countless House state legislatures are up for election, and local municipal offices, county offices all across the country, more than I can name and or count. Probably more than I even know about, to be honest, are up for election. This is the end of a general election cycle, a large and monumentally important general election cycle, perhaps the most important general election cycle since 1932. And before that, probably 1864. And before that, probably the very first one, and since the very first one, when we elected President Washington. So I would include that. Probably top 4, top 5, easily top 10 most important elections in the history of our nation. So what we want to do today is I contacted the good folks at the top of the food chain at hot101.net and said, if there's no one that's going to be live tomorrow, here's what I'd like to try to do. So folks, here's what I'd like to try to do. All of the social media platforms that our humble little show reaches are open to you right now. If you are watching this on Facebook, across the 60 plus groups, pages, platforms, and so on, where we share the program, you will see on the screen the studio phone number. That phone number is open, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. What we want to do, so that's, well, let me back up. So that's open. You can also live tweet the program. You can send us a tweet at that Kennedy Talk, at that Kennedy Talk. You can email the program, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. If you come to the home Facebook page for the program, which is called That Other Side of Information, the chat room is open there. So what we would like to do is simply hear from you your stories, your experiences of your 2020 voting experience. How did it go? How did you vote? Did you vote via mail? Did you vote in person? Did you vote provisionally? Did you apply to vote by mail? You didn't, and you never got your ballot. Therefore, you had to go to the polling place either this morning. Are you waiting to still vote in person, or did you have to work today? And therefore, you haven't voted yet. You will be voting later. Did you vote first thing in the morning? Did you have long lines? Are you the victim of any type of voter suppression or intimidation? Or did you have a flawless, easy, simple voting experience? Why did you vote? What motivated you to vote? What drove you to vote? Why was it important for you to vote? I am not so much interested in whom you voted for. If you are a normal, we shouldn't use the word normal. Yeah, none of us are all that normal, are we? We all have our quirks, don't we? If you are a regular, steady listener or viewer to the program, you'll know where I stand politically. I don't really care where you stand politically for the purposes of the conversation that we want to try to have today. But what motivated you to vote? Why was it important to you to vote? Are you a first-time voter? Are you 18? And this was the first time you were able to vote, or 19? Or is this the first presidential election cycle that you voted in? Are you a new citizen to the United States and you've never voted before, and this is the first time that you've been able to do so? We just simply want to hear your election stories. What happened? How did it go? How did you find it? How did it go in this most important of campaign seasons? In this most important of so it's almost hard to put into words. In this most important of elections, this is how we choose our government. There are several old sayings, actually. It was during the Continental Congress, when the Constitutional Convention, really, it wasn't the Continental Congress, but during the Constitutional Convention There's a story in Philadelphia. There's a story of Benjamin Franklin leaving the Constitutional Convention for the evening, and a woman was uh, waiting for him outside. And I used to know the name of the woman who was waiting, who spoke to him. And she said to him, "Well, Mr. Franklin, what type of government do we have?" And he responded to her, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Well, that's what we're doing today, trying to keep our republic. That's why we're voting. We're not necessarily just choosing who represents us, but we're choosing the course of our government. There is another saying, famous quote, and I'm hopefully not butchering said quote, from Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson himself, that says, "You get," I'm butchering it. I should say I'm not quote. I shouldn't say I'm quoting it. I should say I'm paraphrasing it. There's a quote from Jefferson himself that I'm going to paraphrase that says, I'll start over, and says, "You get the government you deserve." Now, we've seen in the early voting that nearly going into this morning that over 90 million of us early voted in one form or another, by mail or in person early voting, absentee, whatever form you want to choose. And that's nearly 2/3 of all the people who voted in total in 2016. Congratulations, America. I think you got the memo. I think you finally understood how important this is. So what we want to do here is try to hear from you. Whether you are watching on Facebook, listening to the video of the Facebook in the background, to our sisters and brothers in the hot101.net family, a family of which I am thrilled and honored to be part of. We want to hear from you through whatever method you are most comfortable. You may call the program, and here is the number. We have one phone number to call the program. We use a little bit of software called Google Voice, and it allows everyone listening to the program to hear you. It allows us to talk to each other, and it allows the folks listening and watching the program to hear you as well. That number is 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. You may email the program, That Other Kennedy, all one word, no capitals, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. You may live tweet the program. We are on Twitter with the handle, our Twitter handle is @ThatKennedyTalk. That, of course, is all jumbled together. You know that it's all one word. You know how Twitter handles work. I'm new to Twitter myself, but you veterans of Twitter out there know how Twitter works. @ThatKennedyTalk. And We are on Facebook, of course. I have shared this program currently live right now as we are talking to each other uh, uh, to about 60, between 50 and 60 different groups, pages, and so on. Some of them national. But our live chat is available at the home base, the home group page for the program titled That Other Side of Information. So we will just sort of hang out here. And I will try to keep talking to you and let you know how everything is going. We've had so many wonderful candidates with us throughout the summer into this fall, and all of them are out there right now. It's interesting to think that all of them are out there right now. Lee Griffin running for the Pennsylvania 12th district, the largest geographical district in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 15 counties, a district that literally could take you 6 hours to drive diagonally from end to end. Michelle Siegel, our guest from just this past Sunday, is out there right now running. We have a call in already. Let me pick this up. Caller, welcome. Thank you. You're on the air. Your first name only and where you're calling from, please.
Robert in Schuylkill County.
Bob from school. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm good.
Tell me what's going on out there today. Tell me your election story. Obviously, you and I know each other, so it's not necessarily a random call from off the street. But tell me about how elections are going where you are calling from Schuylkill County for our sisters and brothers on Hot 101 listening literally around the globe. Schuylkill County is in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Tell me where you are. Tell me your election day story.
I am at the polls currently, and we have had over half of the eligible registered voters come out and vote today.
Tell me where Schuylkill, help us out a little bit geographically. Tell me where Schuylkill County is.
About 45 minutes north of Harrisburg, right in the middle of the state. Coal region.
Formerly.
Oh, yeah. No, still.
a little bit still.
Still got some coal miners.
Right.
Yep. And as you can imagine, it is a heavily gerrymandered area. It is also very heavy Republican. But our turnout today, we have a lot of first-time voters. I'm really amazed with the youth coming out and voting for the first time today.
Well, you beat me to that. So when you say first-time voters, are we talking specifically young or just simply first time?
Mostly young, but not all. One lady in her 50s, definitely first-time voter. She actually came out and, never had voted before. So, I can think on that one specifically. But definitely the turnout has been over 50% of what we've gotten in the past. I mean, I'm saying over 50% of registered eligible voters have come out. And that's a lot higher than what we'd had at this time in the past. And more than double what we've had.
And polls in PA open at 7 a.m. And you will be there till 8 p.m. tonight.
Correct.
And it should be mentioned.
8 p.m. if people are waiting in line, they get the vote.
Exactly. You beat me to it. I was going to say, if you are in line, it is important to know that pretty much anywhere in the country that I am aware of, I do not know of anywhere in the country where this is different. If you are in line waiting to vote and your polls close, for instance, if you are in line in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania waiting to vote and the clock strikes 8 p.m., when those polls close, those polls will stay there and wait for you to vote.
Correct.
They will not close on you. You will not be stopped at the door. You will not be denied.
No, you will be allowed to vote.
Exactly. And then that's a very important thing. The clock necessarily should not stop you from getting out to vote. Obviously, you can't show up at the polls at 9 o'clock just because you see a line. But if you are in line at 8 p.m., you will be allowed to enter and vote.
Correct.
So half of the registered voters were at 3:22 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. Half of them have already shown up from 7 a.m. till 3:22. What do you expect? Is there, or if you're, you don't have a crystal ball, but I mean, what do you expect to happen as we proceed?
Historically, the majority of the voters show up in the evening after work. So this is shocking. A lot of people must have taken the day off or gotten to the polls first thing this morning. We had, a decent line for us opening up the door. People just don't show up like this in the past, and they have this time.
What is happening outside the polling place? We have, for folks who might be listening around the country and are not familiar, I cannot speak to what the local laws are in all the different 50 states and municipalities and different counties around the country. Here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you are allowed to do some politicking outside of the polling place. What is happening outside of your particular polling place? Is it peaceable? Is it a little rowdy?
It is very calm. I live in a very rural, peaceful town. So, yeah, actually it is very calm. And there's been a little bit of literature handing out, but nothing that you wouldn't want or expect. That is it. And, people cutting the grass. It's a great, beautiful afternoon. So people are not scared to come out and vote today. Unlike the days when it rains, people tend to...
Still time to cut the grass. Life must go on. Even though it's the most consequential election probably since 1932, we still have to cut the grass.
Yes.
Well,
unfortunately, I must end my reporting into you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling in and letting America know what's happening. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Stay tuned in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's Bob. That's Bob from Schuylkill County. And hey, listen, you guys even got to hear the fun little chime. Isn't that funny? That's how Google Voice works, kids. It's painless. You can call in and let us know what's happening. I very much appreciate it. I appreciate Bob calling and letting us know what's going on there. That's all we're trying to do today. That's all we want to do today is do exactly what just happened. Is tell folks what's happening around the country. And that's a report from a poll worker. Bob is actually a constable. I happen to know him. Is a constable in Schuylkill County. Schuylkill County is north of Harrisburg by about 45 minutes along the Susquehanna River. It is dead center of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a very rural county, very red county. And you heard it. Very high turnout, which is exciting to hear, and very peaceful, which is even more exciting to hear. As I mentioned on the program on Sunday, our governor here in Pennsylvania, Governor Tom Wolf, a Democratic governor and democratically elected, wink, wink, contrary to what you want to hear out of the current Trump regime, a Democratic party member, a Democratic governor, Tom Wolf, cleanly and legally elected, despite what you may hear in right-wing media, had to make a statement this past Friday that he had to prepare, sadly, had to make preparations for violence. And he has done exactly that. But I guess my point more being that he had to make those preparations, and that's a sad thing. And what a shame that he would have to do such a thing. And it's just, I don't even know what to say about it. But the fact that we always prepare for things. I think all of us prepare for things. We prepare for financial emergencies. We try to prepare for, if we're going to have guests, we prepare, we clean, we shop. We try to prepare for what happens if there's a car mechanical emergency. We try to prepare as best we can for all types of different situations. And I suppose when we know what you'll see in the southern states when a hurricane is coming, they prepare. Here's another phone call. Let's take that. Welcome, caller. You're on the air. Your first name only, please, and where you're calling from.
Sarah, and I'm in Carroll Valley.
Sarah, welcome to the Adams County, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the program. Sarah, tell us your voting story.
So I am poll watching today at 2 precincts here, and they're having an enormous turnout. At noon, taking into account the mail-in ballots that had already been sent in for these precincts and the people that had come in, we were probably close to 75% voter turnout.
So we're looking at, it's on my fancy computer screen, it's 3:28 Eastern time here in the United States. Your polls opened at 7 a.m. this morning, and you believe, or the best that you can tell, probably shouldn't say you believe like you're pulling it out of thin air. Best that you can tell, 3/4 of all the eligible voters in your 2 precincts that you're monitoring have voted.
Yes.
So what do you expect to happen then the rest of the day? Would that, our previous caller Bob mentioned that you usually have a rush, the post-work rush. Do you expect to have a post-work rush, or how much of a rush can you have if only 25% of the voters remain?
Right. So yeah, I think it'll be, I think there'll still be a rush, but it'll be smaller. Some of it, I think, has to do with so many people are still working from home. So people have come at different times of the day. We did have pretty long lines early in the morning. And after those lines kind of got whittled away took about 2 hours to get those lines down, then it's just been a steady flow throughout the day.
How is the weather where you are, Sarah? I think the weather in the Commonwealth is pretty much static around today. It's sunny. I am here in the Lehigh Valley. It's sunny. It is windy, a bit chilly, but dry. How is the weather where you are?
The same. The wind has finally died down. It was quite windy this morning, but now it's just a little bit of a breeze. Nice, pretty comfortable in the sun and in the shade where I'm currently standing. It's a bit on the chilly side.
How about, as I had mentioned with our earlier caller, the Commonwealth has a bit of an interesting wrinkle to it when we vote. We are allowed, the Commonwealth allows a bit of politicking to happen outside of the polling place. How has it been outside of the polling place or your polling place?
So there is absolutely no politicking happening here all day, other than my daughter, who handed out a few things. And I had stopped at another polling place close by this morning. There was also no politicking going on there. It seems that probably because of the call for poll watchers, I'm imagining, that many of us that would typically be potentially poll or politicking outside might be poll watching this year. But I also feel like this year is different, that everybody's pretty much got their minds made up. I will say inside, I saw a lot of people coming in that were new voters. And, you can tell that because they're being asked to show their ID. So they're either new voters or a lot of people that had to sign affidavits because their voting status was inactive.
Elaborate on that for me if you could. What do we mean by that?
So when somebody hasn't voted for, and I don't know what the period of time is, they're registered, but they haven't actively voted in so many years, then they just kind of have to just sign an affidavit reasserting that they're who they say they are and they live where they say they live, because their voting account goes inactive.
How many folks roughly, Sarah, have been pushed onto provisional ballots?
I want to say the last time, the one precinct I was in here, we had, I think there's been about 12 people that have gotten provisional. Most of them because they didn't bring in a mail-in ballot with them to surrender, didn't know they had gotten a mail-in ballot, so they didn't request a mail-in ballot. There was one gentleman that came in that I'm certain, he said, I just moved back. I registered to vote on the 20th when I got my driver's license. And I said, well, the cutoff was the 19th. So they let him do a provisional anyways, but I'm sure that was his problem. So about half of them were missing mail-in ballots, and about the other half were kind of the normal things like the gentleman that registered a day late.
How has the virus-related conditions been at your polling place? I actually neglected to ask Bob that earlier. I should have done that. We're having masks, we're distancing, it's not being a problem, or not? How has that been going?
The majority of people do have masks on. There have been a few that did not. The folks that are working inside the poll spaces are doing a great job of kind of, sanitizing, wiping down the booth frequently. You take a pen, you carry it with you, you put it in a dirty box at the end, and then they wipe all the pens down and then reuse them after they've been wiped down. I will say, however, in the two precincts, they're actually in the same building here. They're just in separate rooms. And the one has done a great job about not having too many people in the space. The other one did not, to the point that I actually called it in this morning. Some of the staff had mentioned to the judge of elections that they felt like there were too many people in the space, that there were only supposed to be 10 people, and there were definitely in excess of 20 people in there at the time.
Whoa. So it's a mix between trying to keep everything safe, but yet accommodate the numbers and enthusiasm of the voters.
Yes, I would say that is a good description of it.
A good problem and a bad problem all at the same time.
Yep.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but trying to distill it down to say, we have these crowds, we have an enthusiasm of voters, but at the same time we have virus conditions we have to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the judge of elections, I think she was just feeling a lot of pressure to get people in, because the line at that point was, it was, I am sure there were people first thing this morning here that waited 2 hours to vote, that had got here kind of before the poll opened. And so she was feeling a lot of, I think, pressure to get people in, get people voting, but definitely had a few too many people in that space for my comfort at times.
So again, as we continue ahead into the evening, are you expecting a lull here a bit, and then a bit of a rush toward the end of the night? What do you expect then? Actually, I guess that's one question. And if I can ask another one and pile another question on top of you, what do you expect to happen after 8 p.m.?
I guess at 8 p.m. they will, shut the doors and begin to, collect all the totals. We'll be standing here and observing it while they collect the totals and pack up the provisional ballots that'll have to go to the courthouse.
What do you have voting machines there, Sarah? What do you have ESNS machines there?
We do the, black pen, fill in the circle, and then insert the ballot into the voting machine to tabulate the vote.
The optical scanner.
Yep.
Brilliant. Much better. Much better.
Yep.
Because then you have those papers to use as a backup. Way ahead of Northampton County, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we don't usually have too much trouble with that.
Yes, thank God. Thank God we have the ES&S machine here at the epicenter of the entire national election here in Northampton County. Thank God. Thank God we have the most hackable.
Right.
Thank God we have the most hackable, dangerous, most compromisable machine here in Northampton County. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Sarah, thank you so much for calling us, and especially giving us nearly 10 minutes of your time here on a very, very busy election day. I'm very grateful for your time.
Absolutely. Have a good evening.
Stay tuned in. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Sarah from Adams County. We're very happy with that. Thanks so much. That's exactly what we're trying to do today, folks, is just get your voting stories. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how you have voted. How has your voting experience been? If you're a poll worker, how is the poll worker? How is the going at the polls? If you are one of those folks volunteering outside the polls to try to stump, for your candidate last minute as people are entering the polls, how do you feel about that? How is that going? How are you being greeted? How are you being taken? What are the conversations that you're having with people? How is that going? I want to hear your voting stories. That's what we're doing today on a very, very special, different, experimental, dare I even say, edition of the Kennedy Effect. For if you are a new listener or viewer and you have tuned into 101 and you're thinking to yourself, the Hot 101, what the heck am I listening to right now? My name is Jeff Kennedy. I am your presenter and host. We normally air the Kennedy Effect on Sunday evenings from 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States until 8:30, 9 p.m. On those same Sunday evenings. This is a political progressive talk show where we deal with current events, news items. We have guests, authors, historians, political candidates, political people, friends, family, and so on, throughout the political spectrum, actually. We have had guests from the opposite side of the aisle as well. All folks are welcome. All opinions are welcome. Anyone is welcome to join the program. Anyone who listens from across the political spectrum, every single human being that listens to this program is welcome, respected, and just they are welcome here. We appreciate every single human being that joins the Kennedy Effect each and every Sunday. You can find us our regular time slot. Our current regular time slot is every single Sunday evening from 5 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. If you want to be able to find the program, there's so many, many different ways that you can find the program on a regular basis. Again, our regular live time slot here on hot101.net is 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. The program is shared over between 50 and 60 different platforms, group pages, personal pages, threads, timelines, fill in the word there. On Facebook, you can find us there. The program is throughout social media. We are on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. We are on Twitter at That Kennedy Talk, at That Kennedy Talk. We are on Instagram at, it's behind me, I'm looking around, That Other Side of Information on Instagram. The YouTube channel is titled That Other Side of Information. You can find me on LinkedIn at, you can just search for Jeff Kennedy. There's really very few places where the show is not, cannot be found. You can find us pretty much everywhere. Facebook and, of course, hot101.net are the primary places You can find recorded versions of the program at Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. Right now, if you would like to contact the program, the phone number is 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. You can email the program right at this very moment, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. And you can live tweet us right very now, right this very second at that Kennedy Talk, at that Kennedy Talk, at that Kennedy Talk. So I will keep the program going as long as there's some interaction. There's 3 folks in the chat room, and the program, again, is being shared across between 50 and 60 different places on Facebook, and to our sisters, brothers, friends, family at hot101.net. We thank you for allowing us to be on your devices, your smart speakers, in your cars, wherever it is that you listen to and consume hot101.net. We thank you. We thank each and every single one of you. You are important, and we appreciate being part. We are humbled, proud, and we very much appreciate being part of the hot101.net family. And we thank you for listening. Again, our normal time slot is Sundays from 5 p.m. A very special edition of the program today, Election Day 2020 here in the United States. What we want to hear from you is your election story. How have you voted? What has motivated you to vote? What is driving you to vote? How did you vote? Did you vote by mail? Did you vote in person? Are you an absentee voter? Are you a first-time voter? Are you a young voter voting for the very first time? You heard our first caller, Bob, mention that he noticed some very first, Sarah did too, actually. Some very first-time voters come in and vote for their very first election. Are you a first-time voter? Or have you been voting for decades and you just always make sure that you get to the polls? Did you vote by mail? Did you have a mail-in ballot that you dropped in a drop box like me because you feared for the timeliness and effectiveness of the... There comes a call. I was going to say of the post office. Area code 570, your first name and where you're calling from, please.
Michelle from Sealandsburg.
Oh, it's Michelle Siegel, you.
Yeah.
How is your day going, young lady?
It's going all right.
How are we doing today? Tell me about your day.
It's a little nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie.
I can hear it.
Yeah, we were, in Shamokin at the polls for a while. Pretty good, good turnout. I didn't see really any issues. I made sure we got the poll workers some donuts and coffee because they were definitely starving. So we went and did that. So far around here, it's pretty good. I mean, the lines, we've got some lines. They were pretty bad in the morning right away because I think people were going before work. I expect that at 5 they're going to get to pick up again. I've seen some, Trump people on the side of the roads waving flags, but I haven't really heard of too many issues with intimidation in the polls for where I am right now.
Just a quick snarky question. You didn't run into that wayward tree Kristen ran into, did you? Apparently there's a rogue tree out there causing trouble, from what I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when two people are running around frantically at midnight trying to put signs out at polling locations.
No, there's just a rogue ent, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, just running around there, randomly laying in front of the road, throwing people off, from what I understand. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, if you were with us on Sunday, this is Michelle Siegel, the Democratic nominee and candidate for the Pennsylvania State Senate from the 27th District, calling and checking in on her day, the end of a culmination of, 16 months, 15 months worth of work, all comes down to today. So have you just been traveling around to different polling locations just to see how it's been going? Are we doing last minute lit drops? What are we doing? what is your day today? What are you doing today?
We've been giving out the Rural Bill of Rights at where I've been at the polls. So that's what I've been doing, just, meeting and talking to voters. One of the coolest things that happened when I actually went and voted this morning was there was an older gentleman that was saying that he remembered the first time that he went to the polls, and his dad, held him up so he could watch him vote for Woodrow Wilson. And that was really neat to hear. Yeah.
1912.
Yeah. He was a very old man.
That would have been
really
19.
Neat.
Yeah, that would have been. Yes, that would have been 1912. Yes, 1912.
And then I was told. Now I didn't hear this directly, but I was told from a close friend of mine. He's a professor. When I was at Susquehanna, had said that he ran into a 93-year-old gentleman that had never voted in an election before and couldn't sit on the sidelines this election anymore. So he came out and voted. 93 years old, his first time voting.
What are you seeing as far as lines? Are you seeing lines everywhere you go?
There's some lines. We passed the fire company and there was a line. They weren't too bad. I know, as I said, it was bad around here from like 7 to 8:30ish, and then it had seemed to kind of wane a little bit around lunchtime. It picked up again. I foresee it getting bad here within the hour as people are getting off of work. I know in the part of Luzerne County that is in the district I'm running, they said that they're seeing really large turnout. I think a lot of people, are going to the polls, and I understand why a lot of people are doing that. So, but that's good. When, turnout is high, that typically favors, the Democrats. So we'll see what happens.
It does. That's why Republicans don't like turnout.
Yep. And I saw, did you see that they just did a lawsuit for Montgomery County now already?
I have not. I probably should add one of the Pennsylvania news sites to one of my laptops here in my array of screens here. My associate producer George is in the Zoom room right now. Well, I'll get him to add some screens on at his location. We'll try to keep track of that. The Republicans are already suing in Montgomery. Well, we knew that was going to come. That is the only tactic, apparently, is to sue for everything. But then again, that's a Trump tactic. He sues for everything. And that's why he doesn't pay anybody who works for him, because he sues everyone in a way to not pay them. I guess lawyers are cheaper than the bills. What about outside? I've asked the previous callers who have checked in. Outside of polling places, what kind of politicking are you seeing? Aggressive, peaceable, congenial kind?
There was a guy driving. I've seen a bunch of trucks with flags driving around. Actually, one guy was literally driving with one hand and then holding a flag with the other hand. So I hope a police officer found him very quickly. There are some of them are on the roads waving flags. But I haven't. We have a pretty good team of friends that I know throughout the district, and even like in Union County, which is not my district. And so far, not too much of like intimidation wise around here. It's been pretty peaceful. So that's good. But they are out there. They're just not right now at the polls.
What do you expect the rest of your night to be, especially after 8 p.m.? Where do you expect that you're still going to have to be on the road checking for vote count? I don't like to use the word shenanigans because that makes it sound almost fluffy and happy. And there's nothing lighthearted about this. Do you think you're going to have to, do you think you're going to be able to be home and, kick your feet up and relax a tiny bit? Or do you think you're going to have to be out there and make sure that there's not, vote count chicanery, that there's not one for me, two for you, 1, 2 for me, 2 for you, 1, 2, 3 for me, 2 for you. What are we gonna?
I mean, we have people set in my district that's running to watch the canvas. So, and we do have people that are watching the polls throughout the district. So I'm and they're people that I trust, and people that will offer to step up, which was amazing. So I do feel a little bit better that way. I mean, I know at least for my district that we have somebody watching, will be watching the canvas from representing, our campaign.
Well, I appreciate very much that you called in. Please stay safe as you continue to drive around the district. As long as we are on air and the line is open, you are welcome to ring back in. But until now, how do you feel generally? I didn't ask you the most obvious question of all before I don't mean to unceremoniously kick you off the air, but I don't want to keep you either. You're busy. How do you feel? How do you feel about the general about the general outcome? How do you feel today?
I mean, I mean, I think it's a good sign that turnout is so high. I think that's good, but I mean, Jeff, you know me. I'm a nervous wreck all the time. So I mean, I'm not
you are. When there's a misshapen cloud, you get nervous. I know. You do get nervous rather easily.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, I've just had to use my inhaler like 3 times today, and I've had to use it for months. That's where I am right now. Just trying not to have panic attacks. So I mean.
What about my buddy Alex? How is he today?
Well, he just got home. So, I mean, he asked me again this morning, what happens if you lose? Like, it just, it's hard when your kid says that, right. I'll be fine. I can make it. But when your child is asking that, that's what pulls at your heart, and that's what makes it harder.
Right. No, it's fine. It is. Well, I mean, I don't have children, but I mean, it's I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But listen, I appreciate very much that you checked in. I don't want to keep you. I know you're busy, and I know you've probably got 1,000 other places to go to yet, but be careful driving around. Watch out for that rogue tree. I hear it's just running around between different rural roads, randomly laying in front of them. So just be careful. And as long as we're on the air, you're welcome to check back in, but I will hopefully be speaking to you later tonight. We're behind you, and just stay safe the rest of the day. And thank you for calling.
Yep. No problem. I'll talk to you later, Jeff. Have a great day.
That's Michelle Siegel, candidate for the Pennsylvania State Senate and our guest this past Sunday. So I want to say hello to our associate producer and show engineer, George Dare is entered the room. You are welcome to unmute and come on the camera if you wish. That's entirely up to you. I will not force you to do that. If everybody can stare at this face, they can certainly look at you, you handsome devil.
That's okay. I have a face for radio. That's okay.
So do I. And yet here I am. That's why we do. That's why we God bless Hot 101 as an audio outlet. Let me just run through it again, folks. We're sharing the program at probably between 50 and 60 different outlets. If you are watching live, God bless you. We love you for that. You can reach us through, oh my goodness gracious, the live chat is going on at That Other Side of Information. There's a couple of folks in there. You can send your comments and questions that way. You can email us, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. No one has done that yet, but that's perfectly fine. It is there. We can take your emails at any time. You may live tweet us. I can almost hardly believe that I say that on a regular basis. You can live tweet us your comments, your questions. George will have to explain to me that if somebody has tweeted me and it is way down in my thread, will I find it somehow, or will it come up at the top? I'm putting that question to George there at some point. You can live tweet us at That Kennedy Talk. Send us a tweet. It could be a comment, a question, yell, tell me where to go, tell me I'm blocking great music from you on Hot 101, whatever it is, by chewing your ear off. Whatever you tell me your voting story. That's why we're here today. I want to hear your voting story. Why did you vote? What motivated you to vote? What drove you to the polls? And I don't mean your car, but what made you get out to vote? What motivated you? Why was it important to you? Why did you get out of bed today and say, I have to vote? Were you a mail-in voter? How easy was it? Did you actually mail in your mail-in ballot? Here comes another phone call. We're rocking and rolling. Caller, welcome to the program. Your first name and where you're calling from, please.
Taylor Picone, and I'm in
Hey, Taylor, how are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
This is Taylor Picone. He's the candidate for the Pennsylvania State House of Representatives, and I'm forgetting your district number. I want to say 123.
124.
20. Do you know what? You know what? I'm going to play 123 in the lottery. Must have had 123 on my mind. Taylor was our guest a few weeks back. Taylor, how are you feeling today? What are you seeing as you're traveling around the district here on Election Day as we come to the close of this 2020 election cycle?
Yeah, it's feeling good. It's been a great time. It's been my favorite day of the campaign so far because I've actually gotten to be meeting people and talking to them in person again. So it's been fantastic. I've been to about 6 or 7 different polling locations so far today. I'm up in Tamaqua now, just taking a break to eat something and then heading back out to the polls. And the one consistent thing we're seeing is just tons of people voting. A lot of comments from voters, especially in the more rural areas of the district. They waiting in line for up to an hour, hour and a half, which is pretty unusual in a lot of these smaller rural communities. So lots of turnout, which is great. And it looks like just kind of checking in on Facebook once in a while, that seems to be the trend nationwide. So I think that's a great thing for us up and down the ballot. And pretty excited. Gotten a lot of positive feedback from Republican voters who are a little bit fed up with what the incumbent has been doing for a decade, which is mostly not enough for the people. So it's we talked about before, an uphill battle. Might take more than one cycle to swing things, but if nothing else, for this campaign, it's going to offer us a good baseline data, which we didn't have since nobody's run here in a decade. So we're going to, if we don't manage to win this time around, we're going to be able to build a really good strategy going forward because we're going to have some real actual data to be able to work with. But things look good, and I remain optimistic, and it's been really, really fun getting to interact with voters again for a change.
Now, you sound energized.
I am. I'm running on a lot of adrenaline. There's a small part of me that is I'm looking forward to win or to lose. I'm looking forward to the day ending because I am looking forward to getting a little bit of sleep.
I am. You might remember when we did the program, I explained to you the home studio setup. So I have several computers going on at the moment. One of the pages I have open is Penn Live. And Michelle Siegel, who rang in right before you, was kind enough to check in right before you, mentioned that the Republicans in the Trump campaign have already sued in Montgomery County. Now,
oh, wow.
I can't seem to find that anywhere. I'm efforting to find that story so I can bring it to everyone who's listening and watching and trying to get an explainer on that. Have you seen, with that story in mind, and I don't mean to hit you with that story, make you react to something that you hadn't heard, but with that in mind, as you travel around your district today and as you move from polling place to polling place, what are you, I guess kind of a general question, what are you seeing? Are you seeing long lines, unhappy people? Are you seeing a lot of politicking going on outside the polling places? Are you seeing happy people, enthusiastic people? What is the general voting experience that you are seeing today as you travel around the 124th? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I would say so. There are like the long lines everywhere. Although the morning rush kind of died down by lunchtime. It was a steady stream for most places. Most people are happy. And they're excited to come out and vote, participate. I think most people, I think, are excited and energized by seeing how many other people are coming out to vote. I've got a lot of comments from people about just the sheer turnout. So that seems to be exciting. There's been a handful of I think small, no issues that I think will have any real impact. My polling place is Windsor Township in Berks County. They through some mistake this morning, they did not have the sign-in books for voters with last names A through D. They had, I guess, forgotten them when they picked up at the courthouse. So they had to send somebody down. So that caused a little bit of snafu. There were some people who were stuck waiting to vote because of that. But even those folks really weren't overly upset. And I don't think there was anything malicious there. Just a human error. We did have a worker inside, not a poll worker. We had somebody from the opposing campaign was inside our polling place handing out information, which they're not allowed to do. So we had to have a constable ask them to step outside. But aside from, little things like that I don't think are really going to, they're not going to sway the election. Just little mishaps like that is really all I'm seeing. Other than that, people seem pretty happy. I heard from, I got a text message from a poll worker in one area. They were worried about, because so many people are coming in to vote in person who were originally signed up to vote by mail. If they don't bring their mail-in ballot with them to discard and have destroyed, they then have to vote provisionally. And they were on the verge. I haven't gotten an update in a little while, but they were very concerned because they were running out of provisional ballots because they didn't anticipate so many people coming in to vote in person who would have otherwise voted by mail. So I haven't heard an update on that. That could be problematic. The one thing I heard from a campaign worker for a different campaign, not a state level campaign, for a federal campaign, is that in one of the areas outside of Berks, I want to say it was in Lebanon County, there was a mix up with the polling. It's like a dual polling location where two congressional districts vote in the same place. And I guess some directions were not clear, and some people may have been voting in the wrong congressional district, which that could, that's the only one I've heard about today that I think is really, probably problematic. But generally, people are happy. They're excited to be out voting. I haven't seen any significant issues, at least not at the state house level. And there's people from all the campaigns are out and about at the polling places, and everybody's been cordial and polite with each other. So it's going really well. I think mostly the atmosphere is a positive one. I think there's a lot of excitement for people with their candidate. I don't know, how that will change as the results come out. Some people are obviously going to be disappointed.
How do you feel generally as a candidate? I mean, how are you up? How do you feel about how this is going to end up for you at the end of the evening?
Ultimately, I feel good. It's we knew going in that this was an uphill battle, and that a race like this, and my district is R plus 9,000. Running as a Democrat there is difficult.
And not 9,000 points or percent, but 9,000 voters.
Right. Yeah. Our registration here is it's basically about 2 to 1, Republican to Democrat in this district. So I have to run a good campaign that appeals to people on both sides of the aisle, because I can't win just on Democratic enthusiasm alone. I have to have Republicans vote across the ballot for me. So which I think I appreciate that, because it means I have to engage with people who are ideologically different from me, and I think that's a good thing. But we knew, looking at the numbers and the data going into this, that flipping this district as a first-time candidate would have been difficult but doable in a world pre-COVID, when we could go out to knock on all the doors and go to the picnics and the fairs and the street parties and everything that we couldn't do because of COVID. So I think COVID definitely advantaged the incumbent here. So I think the last guy who ran in 2012, he got about 21% of the vote. So I'm hoping to do much better than that. I'm hoping to try and at least double that number and find ourselves in the 40% or more range, because that will really demonstrate, a good candidacy and put us in a position to close a much smaller gap in 2022, if that's what it takes.
I mean, it sounds great. I mean, just the fact that you sound as good as you do and that you sound as energized as you are, I mean, I think it speaks volumes. the weather was good. That certainly helps.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have, I might be really blindsiding you with this one, and I hope I'm not. Do you happen to know what the mail-in slash early numbers were from your district compared to the number of folks who are going to be showing up in person today?
So we know roughly what was requested. Within the 124th, we had I'm looking at the numbers right in front of me here now. We had a little over 9,000 ballots requested. And according to the numbers I have, about 6,500 of those have been returned by mail. So there's still a handful that are out, about 2,800 I'm assuming are folks who are now going to vote in person and turn that ballot in. So it's about 70% of the mail-in ballots got returned. So I estimate that the other 30% will be voting in person today at the polls. Hopefully, with their mail-in ballot in hand, they can turn that in and vote. Otherwise, they'll be voting provisionally, which is fine. But either way, much easier if they could.
Well, we do know that the provisionals are always the last ones to get counted, so that it's not always the best alternative. That's not the way that we want to see. It's not our first choice is to get everybody shoved onto a provisional if it can be helped. Although generally a provisional ballot is the last to get counted when we know it won't make a difference. If for example, Taylor has 10,000 votes, his opponent has 2, and we know we handed out 20 provisional ballots. We know those provisional ballots cannot change the outcome of an election, and generally they're never counted. This election, I have a feeling, I think it's pretty safe to say, Taylor, that those provisional ballots are going to get counted everywhere, but I still hate to see people get pushed onto that provisional ballot if it can be avoided.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, we can see people, avoid that by, hope. Yeah, I think one of the disadvantages, or not disadvantage, but one of the reasons we're seeing a lot of those provisional ballots here in Pennsylvania is because this is our first, this 2020 primary and now general elections, first time we're voting by mail in Pennsylvania. So it's a learning curve too for Pennsylvanians who are not used to doing this, where other states have, much more experience with this. So we'll see, hopefully we can learn by going through this and then, become one of those states that gets a little more experienced at it going forward.
So what does the rest of the day look like for you? It is 4:09 Eastern time here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. For our friends, our sisters and brothers around the country listening on hot101.net, it is 4:09 Eastern time. Whatever time zone you may be in, it's 4:09 Eastern. The polls will be open here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania until 8 p.m. If you are in line, I believe this is pretty much the same everywhere in the United States. I do not know of anywhere where this is different. I know for a fact this is how it is in the Commonwealth and in New Jersey, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty certain this is the same everywhere in the United States. If you are in line, waiting to vote in person at the time that your polls close, meaning if I'm standing in line at a polling place in Pennsylvania at the stroke of 8 o'clock, I will be allowed to vote. Period. End of story. Do I have that correct?
Yes. Yeah. That is my understanding as well. You have to be physically standing in the line, and as long as you are there before your poll closes, so for us here, that's 8 p.m. So as long as you're in line at 8 p.m., then you are good to go. Even if you have to stand in that line for 2 more hours and it's 10 o'clock by the time you actually physically cast your ballot, as long as you were in that line ready to vote by 8 p.m., then you are allowed to vote. I know at my local polling place in Windsor, we have a constable who's there throughout the day. And not every polling place has that. Everybody, I think, they all probably manage it a little bit differently. I liked the way he explained to me that his plan essentially is that he will go to the end of the line at 8 p.m. and once he stands in line, he will be the end of that line, and that'll be kind of how he manages to make sure that there's a cutoff there at 8 p.m.
So, I mean, do you intend to continue to be driving around the district until 8 p.m.?
Yeah, that's the plan. I just made it up to Tamaqua. I've been, like I said, about 7 different places so far. I started in the southern end of the district, which is a little closer to where I reside. Working my way north, so I'm in Tamaqua now, actually at our office here, and then heading to a few polling places here in Tamaqua. There's 3 or 4 different ones I'm going to hit here. I'm going to head up into try and make it up towards or over to the Coaldale area and then Summit Hill. And then kind of check the clock there and see where we're at and see where else I still have time to get to.
And what do you anticipate doing then the rest of the evening? Are you beyond 8 p.m.? I was able to, I'm not sure if you were able to listen to us on the fly. I asked Michelle earlier, what do you do then after 8 p.m.? Are you going to be, do you have folks, lawyers that are going to be overseeing the count? Are you confident about the count? Are you worried about any chicanery happening with the vote count?
No, I don't have any concerns. I think I trust Berks and Schuylkill and Carbon counties, and I think that they're gonna manage it just fine. I do have in Schuylkill County, I had actually somebody actually reached out to me through the Democratic Party. She's an attorney. We set up the paperwork so that she could be I may get the term wrong here, but essentially a canvas observer. So she will be allowed to be there while ballots are opened and counted, just to observe and make sure that the process is legitimate and fair. Candidates and campaigns are allowed to appoint somebody to be there and do that. I'm sure the Republicans will as well.
I can guarantee that. I can guarantee that for you, my friend. Yeah. I can guarantee it. They're already filing lawsuits, federal lawsuits in counties. You can guarantee they're going to have folks in the room. And if it's a Republican controlled county, then they control the election board, which means they control the vote count. And that's exactly why I ask you that question. And if you're confident in the count, then God bless you. I hope so. I want to be, I don't ask you that question lightly, and I don't ask you that question because I enjoy asking it. I don't want there to be any, I don't want there to be any dodgy counts. I don't want there to be anything nasty happening. I want our system to be much more believable and trustworthy than that. But so the party's going to have somebody in the county in the room at every county, as far as you're aware.
I know that will be the case in Schuylkill. I don't know about Carbon and Berks. I'm not sure if the parties have set up to have them be there. I would imagine that they have. There's just too much at stake here to think that the parties didn't establish someone to be at those locations and keep an eye on things. As far as my campaign appointing somebody, we only did that here at Schuylkill County. That's really the meat of the district. And so we, and I had a volunteer who, kind of stepped forward and was willing to be that person. So, I feel confident in it. I know there's a lot of confusion around the voting process with if I requested a mail ballot and then I want to vote in person, how do I do that? And making sure people bring the bits and pieces to turn it in. I understand there's some confusion around that, but I think once people get through that hurdle and they cast their ballot, whether that's in person or a provisional ballot, or they turn in their mail-in ballot, however they vote, I have confidence in the system tabulating and counting those votes correctly. And being fair about it. I don't have nobody's given me any reason to believe that the county boards of elections won't be properly done.
Sounds good to me, my friend. I appreciate it so much that you called in and gave us really a lot of time on what is an extremely busy day for you. At least as long as we're on the air, you are welcome to check back in if something earth-shattering happens. that you can listen to the program through the app. You listened to me drone on about that while you were with me. I explained the apps about 9,000 times while you were with us. So, I wish you safe travels as you continue to move about the district. My best to you and the family. Good health and safety to you the rest of the day, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you a lot for checking in and calling in today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and good luck to everybody. And we'll know what we know here in the future. It's all in the hands of the voters now.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Taylor. Be safe the rest of the day. I appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
All right, take care, sir. Let me say hello again, George. I did find the article that Michelle was talking about. There is a Republican lawsuit in Montgomery County. The candidate for the 4th U.S. House District is suing Montgomery County over alleged early counting of mail-in ballots. That appears to be what's happening. They began counting mail-in ballots early. What an earth-shattering crime, if indeed that actually happened. Now, here's the thing. If you are listening to the program anywhere else across the country, here in Pennsylvania, you are not allowed to open a mail-in ballot, or were not allowed to open a mail-in ballot anytime before 7 a.m. this morning, when the polls actually opened. And this lawsuit appears, if I'm getting the gist of this article correct, appears to say that Montgomery County was opening these ballots before that time. That's how I gather it. The Republican candidate, I will read a little bit from this article and see if that is how it is understood. We'll try to see. We'll see if that's the gist of it. I'll read a bit from this article. Ironically, George G, boy, does that Google track you? There's an ad dead in the center of the article for new mixing boards. Oh boy, somebody's trying to sell me a new mixing board. The Republican candidate for Pennsylvania's 4th congressional district is suing Montgomery County over alleged early pre-canvassing mail-in ballots. A federal lawsuit filed by Kathy Barnett on Tuesday alleges the Montgomery County Board of Elections violated the state's election code and seeks a court order to block the county from tallying certain mail-in ballots received before Election Day. The U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania is expected to hear the case later today. Pennsylvania's election code prevents counties from preparing mail-in ballots to be counted, known as pre-canvassing. Polls before polls opened at 7 a.m. Tuesday morning. So it appears that I have that correct. My co-host, my special co-host, appears to have entered the room. There she is. She's still connecting. She's rushing in from working at the polls, I believe, if I have that correct. She's still muted. You're still muted.
You're muted by default. You have to go to audio settings and you have to unmute.
There she is.
There you go.
There you go.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I apologize.
You don't need to apologize at all. I didn't know that you were working at the polls today.
Yes, I was supposed to.
So when we came to 3 p.m., I just thought, well, okay, then. I just got blown right off there.
Oh no, I will never do that to you. Of course, I wasn't wearing this. I was wearing it under for a good luck. I was wearing a big sweatshirt on top. My shift was supposed to be over at 2, but then we had longer line than expected. Our precinct is not, it's not big. Normally we don't get, we don't get that much of turnout, but it was shockingly, surprisingly long line. So I stayed to help in, and I will have to go back again at 5 for a few hours.
You're going back to work more.
Yes, I am.
Holy cow.
Today's outside day, so we just help each other. We have few people working now, and just relieve them and stuff like that.
Wow, I can't believe you're going back. Well, then what are you doing here if you have to go back? You should have just stayed there and took a nap or something.
I can. No, I live right there. I don't live far.
Okay.
And I don't sleep anyway. Haven't slept for a couple of weeks because of this. Just maybe a couple hours of like cat nap at night. So I'm hoping tomorrow after we finish the counting and, hopefully we'll have a good picture tonight. And then I can get a good night's sleep.
You would be, if you get a good count tonight, you might be the ones. You might be the good count by the end of the night. Let me just catch up a little bit on where we're at here. It is 4:22 Eastern time here in the United States. This is a special edition of the Kennedy Effect. It is election day here in the United States, the end of a very, very long election cycle. Entering the day, nearly 2/3 of all the people who voted in the 2016 election cycle had already voted. Over 90 million of you voted entering the day today. We've already had call-ins from Michelle Siegel, from Bob from Schuylkill County, Sarah from Adams County, Taylor Pacone just called in. We have reports of a lawsuit already in Montgomery County about early pre-canvassing. I've received a text about Northumberland County precincts that are running out of ballots. So that will be an interesting thing. We have some precincts, I have been told, that are running out of provisional ballots. So it is an interesting day around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But for our sisters and brothers on hot101.net listening literally around the globe, if you don't know how to listen to hot101.net, it's very, very simple. You can go to the main website page at, you guessed it, it's very, very simple. Just go to hot101.net. You can also get the hot101.net apps if you don't know how to get that. There's an app at the Apple App Store. You can go to the Google Play Store and get the Android app, or if you have the TuneIn Radio app, just search for hot101.net. Wherever you are listening to hot101.net around the country, we want to hear your voting stories. How have you voted? Have you voted by mail? Did you vote in person? If you voted by mail, how did it go? Was it easy? Did you get your ballot on time? Did you get it in the mail and then return it in person, as I did? I got it in the mail and then dropped it in the drop box. Did you get your mail-in ballot at all? Did it never come to you? Mm-hmm. Did you have to vote provisionally? Did you take your mail-in ballot, surrender it, have it destroyed, and then vote in person using the machines? Did you have voting machine issues today? We haven't heard a thing about voting machines, which is kind of a good thing. We have
we had one issue at our precinct.
Now, what kind of machines do you have at your precinct?
4. We have 2 precincts.
What type of machines do you have at your?
We have 4, the newer machines. We had 4 in 1 and 5, and then we had 3 on the second one. They're back to back in the same area. But
do you have the ES&S, the big touchscreen machines? Do you have the optical scanner? What type do you?
Not the optical scanner, the big touch machine.
Oh, good. The real expensive, hackable, unsecure ones. Great. Yeah. Just like Northampton County.
Yeah. And we had malfunction. One of them was not working. So that, was interesting to see.
And that didn't help the crowds, I'm sure, when you go down the machine. If you only have 4, you lose 1. That's very simple math. You're down 25% of your machines. Very, very simple.
I want to bring something to your attention, and hopefully if anyone from your listeners live in Philadelphia North, Philly, my sister went to vote, and she's been voting for a long time. So her name is, she's not a new voter. And so they told her name is not there. And of course, she volunteered and she knows her rights and all of that. And she told them, I'm going to call to report this, and you need to call because this is not my first time voting. And so she said, after like a long, maybe 10 minutes back and forth argument, the guy walked to a what appeared to be a closet, not like, you know, a cabinet or something, and he grabbed a bunch of papers with names and found her name there. And she made a fuss, as she should, and she wrote something out and just made everyone aware that don't leave. So I'm not sure if this is a like a fraud, kind of trying to turn people away, or I'm not sure. What is your intake for this incident?
Do you happen to know if they were using those the new electronic poll book sign-ins?
Oh no,
sign-in poll books like this?
Just a regular book,
the old
where
paper
you
books.
have your name and they make you sign and they initial it. So I told her, she called me right there. I couldn't answer because I was working, but I just talked to her and I said, your name should be in the book. They shouldn't have no document, like legal document, in a cabinet or anywhere. And I said, you need to call again. You need to report this. So if you see something like that, make sure you report it. Make sure you don't leave until you find where your name and you vote. So I'm not sure if you heard of something like that happen before, but it was.
We have not had any phone calls, tweets, anything sent to us so far about voter issues. Thank goodness. Very happy about that. But there are no shortage of places to report voting issues. You can contact the Democratic Party. If you don't happen to be on our side of the political spectrum, we have listeners on all sides of the political spectrum. You can call the Republican Party. You can call the ACLU. You can call the NAACP. You can call. There are no shortage of people to call during this election if you believe that you are a victim of either voter suppression, voter intimidation, or as was mentioned, an incorrect, that you know you're a voter. You know you're registered. You checked your registration prior to showing up at the poll, and then you're not in the poll book, especially as we are using here in Northampton County, because God knows we love our really, really expensive yet easily hackable and unreliable technology. These electronic poll books, which are essentially iPads. We love our technology here. And you don't find yourself on the voting roll and you know you're registered. You know, there are no shortage of places to call this election cycle to get yourself taken care of. And don't just don't just step back and accept that provisional ballot. Don't just have that thing thrown at you and say, well, then here, just fill this out. As we mentioned with our previous call, Taylor Picone, who called in, don't just accept that provisional ballot. Provisional ballots are the last ballots to be counted. If those ballots, if it's determined that those provisional ballots will not affect the outcome of an election, they are never counted. You really want your voice to be heard and you want that vote counted. That's the last way that you want to vote. If you know you're registered and you should be in that poll book and you should be registered and you should be, there just shouldn't be an issue. Don't just accept having that provisional ballot thrown at you, especially, dare I say, in these red counties. You get thrown a provisional like that's supposed to placate you somehow, just to get you the heck out the door, and you think everything's going to be fine. It's not always fine. And I think that's what you're referring to, really, right? Is just that the getting that here, take this. here, take this, everything will be great. And it's
Yeah.
not always great.
I don't think they even offer that as an option for them. They just told her she's not there. And if that's someone who didn't know the right, they would have just left or thought
Given up,
maybe.
possibly given up. Yeah.
And they
walked
were
away.
questioning one in my precinct. A lady came and they couldn't find her name. So they told her, are you registered? Did you register? Do you know? So I had to step in and say, take your ID and go to the judge, have them call, make sure if you know that you're registered, they have to find a way. So they can write your name in, by the way. You can call 1-877-868-3772. That's the hotline. Or you can call the PA them, 1-833-PA votes, or 1-833-728-6837. I mean, there is option. There is the lawyers, LBG or LBJ website. There are over 470 lawyers are ready to help and answer your questions. I know there is it's 4:32 now, so we have less than 4 hours, 3.5 left.
And remember, as we've been saying, since I think it was since our very first caller, since Bob called, if you are online and the clock strikes 8, if you're online, don't leave.
Yeah.
You are allowed to vote. You must, by law, be allowed to vote. You might be the 100th, 200th, 500th person in line when 8 o'clock comes. If you are in line, you've been waiting there.
Yeah.
When 8 o'clock comes, or if you are in a different state, listening to us through Hot 101 in a different state, or watching us on Facebook and you're not in Pennsylvania, but you're in New Jersey, Indiana, California, Texas, wherever you may be listening to us on Hot 101, or watching through Facebook, because obviously Facebook isn't restricted to PAs, but if you're watching, wherever you're watching, listening, outside of Pennsylvania, whatever time your polls close, I don't know of any state that does not have this rule. I'm almost certain every single state has this rule. If you're in line when the polls technically close, you are allowed to vote. You cannot get kicked out of line. You cannot rush into the line.
Yeah.
But you cannot show up at 9 o'clock at a line that was already existing when the polls closed at 8.
Yeah.
But if the polls close at 8 and you're standing there waiting, you must, by law, be allowed to vote. Don't give up. Don't walk away. Don't look at your watch and say, well, it's 8. I never made it in. I guess I'm going home. No. By law, you are allowed to vote. That's very, very important. Very important.
But if you were in a line and it's 8 o'clock and you just said, oh, I got to go to the bathroom or go to my car, you lost your spot. There is not, you can't put like a brick there or ask someone to watch your spot for you. No, you have to be physically in that line and don't leave for any reason. And if you feel it's a long 2 hours, 3 hours wait, remember, you could be waiting for years.
It's not easy. No, it's not easy and it's not comfortable. And bring a chair and, bring a bottle of water or snack or a sandwich or something. It's not easy, but this is how important it is. I led off the program telling everyone it was Jefferson himself that said, get the government you deserve.
Yeah.
This is what Americans are showing today, that we get the government we deserve. When 2/3 of all the people, 2/3 of the entire voter turnout from 2016 voted early.
Yeah.
This is the government we deserve. We have decided, enough of us have decided that we deserve better. And we're now voting for it, but we're not done yet. There are hours and hours and hours yet to come. And we're talking only about the Commonwealth at 8 o'clock. Our brothers and sisters listening and watching across the country, we have 4 time zones in the United States. So let's hang in there, gang. We're not done yet. I mean, I think the polls close in I don't know when the polls close in California, to be honest with you. But then again, with the different time zones, we're looking at 11, at least 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern time. So we're not done yet. We're not done yet. So hang in there, everybody. Hang in there. And these issues are going to keep cropping up. You've got politicking. How was there politicking going on outside your polling place?
No, not really in our area, but they allow few people to go in with masks that says, like one guy had a Trump mask and then another guy had the MAGA hat. I expected them to not allow this, but they let them do that. So our area is basically a Trump lane. So anyways, but there is nothing. There is long lines, but there is no sign of intimidation or anyone that carrying a gun or anything like that. But I am not sure about the other area. Like I'm supposed to check in with the Dauphin County and see how is things going there. But I'm not sure if you heard anything in other places.
I have not.
I did not expect any intimidation. I knew this was a fear tactic from the beginning to prevent people from going to the polling place. And I didn't expect anyone to actually do it, except, small areas, like very, very suburban, isolated area. You might see stuff like that, but I did not expect that to happen here or in Harrisburg or even the big cities.
As you well know, and it's part of why you and I do what we do, news coverage in this Commonwealth is awful.
Yeah.
Especially outside Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't even think the news outside of Pittsburgh is very good.
Yeah.
Or in Pittsburgh is very good. Outside of Philadelphia, it's dreadful. And I've got a couple different sites up here so far, and there's just nothing particularly exciting. Penn Live has a couple of stories up, but nothing that's
stands out.
Really stands out. I have the local TV station website up here in the Lehigh Valley. The top story is long lines. The very second story is a house burning down. Now, I feel bad for the folks whose house burned down.
Feel bad for that,
but
yeah.
When the very second story, and I mean literally the second story on the page, at the end of the 2020 election cycle is a house burning down, actually really speaks to the quality of the news coverage that you're getting inside the Commonwealth. News coverage in the Commonwealth is unlike anything I've ever seen. I was born and raised in Jersey.
You would think people will
Houston,
be
New York.
outside, those news stations will be stationed outside of the big places in Philadelphia. You have a 24-hour coverage for that, because this is not your usual or typical election. I expected to see more coverage, but like you said, I didn't check my phone today all day. Like I said, I've been running back and forth from one place to another, but I was hoping to hear more news.
I have to say, look, you and I are wonks, right?
Yeah.
We do this for a living. Yeah. I mean, when I'm not at my quote unquote day job, I do this program. I do political consulting. I'm a member of the party. I'm a county committee person, right? We do this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to say. I'm coming from a whole different perspective. If I had a TV station, I would be doing this like snow coverage. When there's a snowstorm, all we do is watch it snow all day long.
Yeah.
We treat it like it's the four horsemen of the apocalypse coming over the seventh hill, at the end of the Roman Empire. But we forgetting which emperor that was, Stasian, I think it was, forgetting which emperor. But we couldn't do that today.
Yeah.
you know, WFMZ TV net, the TV station here in Allentown, we couldn't do all day
Yeah.
election coverage today. We couldn't put reporters around the valley reporting on this election and treat it like we would a bloody snowstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gobsmacked by that. I'm absolutely gobsmacked.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And then folks like I can't say I don't know what WNEP is doing up in the, you know, Scranton area, which is one of the only local, quote unquote, local TV stations that reaches most of the tea here in the Commonwealth. I'd be, you know, if we can do it for a snowstorm, why couldn't we do it for this? I find it shocking, to be honest with you. Yeah. And it's just, boy, I don't know. I don't know.
But here you are. You're covering it.
I just got news that the one of the Democratic state rep candidates has people handing out the Republican congressional candidates lit at polls, trying to get some confirmation on that.
Yeah, that won't be surprising because
if I gave you the names, it wouldn't be surprising. I will text you the names.
All right,
because I want to get some confirmation before I get.
Okay, before you put that on out there.
Yes.
I'm expecting a lot of unethical behaviors.
So one of the folks who called in before, Michelle Siegel, you've interviewed her on your program.
Yes.
She called in before and said, because we were talking about intimidation, I didn't want to forget about it. There have been the Trump trucks were driving around the district, but she said that's pretty much it. No one has stopped. There hasn't been any confrontation. There hasn't been any, they're not stopping anybody from going in the polls. There hasn't been any.
But there is no reason for, I mean, I know it's the right. You can't stop someone from driving with but that shows you the mentality, the mafia. And they had a side-by-side picture of the 300 vehicles that were basically flooding that New York and New Jersey area. If you've seen that one.
Well, they shut down. I know exactly where they were.
They shut down, and there's a one picture from a terrorist group. You know, if you look at what ISIS or Al Qaeda would do, they drive in like that with the flags and stuff. So it's the same mentality, you know, trying to terrorize people or show them that we're here, we're out there. It's a form of intimidation. They don't have to come and talk to you personally or show you the gun or whatever, but them driving around, it's the same mentality. If you see the Cowboys movie back in the days, right. You know, just you see the dust and the sands flying, and
well, here's an interesting bit I got from my particular talk show idol and a gentleman who I've learned so much from, and I patterned the program off a bit. I tend to get much more emotional than he, and I scream a lot more than he does. But I got from Tom Hartman late last week. You know, do you know Arabic at all?
Oh, I speak Arabic fluently.
Okay. So the literal English translation of Al Qaeda is what?
Base.
The base.
Yeah.
The head of the group that was arrested for the plot to kidnap, try, and assassinate Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan was titled what? The base.
I didn't even think about.
You can't make that up.
No, you can't.
Now here's the thing though. We're giggling a bit. This is serious.
Yeah, it is. It's not funny, but
you're talking about a group of predominantly, although sadly not exclusively, predominantly white self-identified militia, although even though the government themselves will call them white supremacist terrorists, who name their group the same thing as Al-Qaeda. And you know what? There's no damn difference.
Yeah. I agree.
There's no difference.
And that would be surprising to a lot of people. I mean, you and I knew that, like knew the translation and what it mean. Some people might look at it and say, oh, the base, it's just, basically just like the idea of making America great again, just the illusion of
well, here's the question.
Great country is not great.
But here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Make it great from when?
From when? Exactly. I mean, when?
From the late 1800s. From the late 1800s, when West Virginia miners tried to unionize, so the Pinkertons went in and shot them all dead.
Yeah.
That from then?
And great again.
Or from when?
Who?
Or from when? From pre-Civil War?
Slavery.
From when? Great from when? And great for whom?
For whom? That's my main
great
question.
Great from 4 people who have as much wealth as the bottom 160 million.
Yeah.
I posted an article yesterday, that appeared in the New York Times, written by Joseph Stiglitz. Buried inside the 2017 most recent Republican top 1% largest corporation tax cuts is a tax increase on everyone making less than $70,000 a year. I don't know what you make, Gare. That's me. I'm getting a tax increase next year. If you make less than $30,000, you're getting an even larger tax increase. This is the agenda. You need to think about this wherever you're watching and listening. You have, and especially if you haven't even voted yet.
Yeah.
This was a $2 trillion tax cut. And it was just the latest round of tax cuts. If we total all of the income tax cuts, just the income tax cuts on the top 1% of income earners in the Reagan era, that's January 20th, 1981, up to now, they have totaled over $30 trillion. And that's just the income tax cuts. We're not even talking about the ability to offshore money, the capital gains tax cuts, he tried to say, the corporate tax cut. We haven't even talked about any of that.
Yeah.
Just the income tax cuts alone on the top 1%.
Yeah.
And now, folks, so you might have thought to yourself, and you think you might have learned enough about that.
I'm going to have to stop you here. I need to
get back to the poll.
I need to get back because the things I saw earlier made me really concerned about some things I can't talk about now, but let this be over and then I'll discuss it all with you. But I have to be, and that's another reason. That's why I didn't just finish my shift. Like I stayed and I start observing inside and outside because, like I said, Trump's lane. But thank you for everything you're doing. And if you're back, if you're still here when I'm back, I will try to log in again. But we have.
Well, check your phone. I sent you a little bit of information.
I will check my phone and I'll send you more news. But
or ring. I'm going to try to hang to at least I'm going to try to hang to 6 o'clock. Will depend on phone calls and emails and so on.
Yeah.
As long as this stays interactive, I believe, as George well knows, I can talk with the best of them, but it would be
Yeah.
nice if I had some interaction. Check your phone. I sent you some information about the lit drop. You'll recognize the names.
Okay.
And why don't you, I'm doing a little bit of pre-production here on the air, folks. You'll just have to suffer through it. It is only Tuesday. The program is coming up again on Sunday. Folks, as you know, we've been talking about for a couple of weeks, we'll be having a round table discussion on Sunday, breaking down, looking back, breaking down, getting into the numbers of this election. Why don't you and I chat about if you're available?
Definitely.
To join
No
us on
question
Sunday.
asked. Yes, we got this. And thank you for everything you're doing. And thanks to all your
I'm glad that
listeners.
you and I finally got a chance to meet.
I know. And we will have so much
and get together,
and we will get together
more
in the future. And I can see us doing a lot of work together. We have the same value and
right.
And I think we will do great. And let's talk about having our progressive TV. I like that idea. I know you threw that out somewhere. You mentioned that. But
this program goes out to between 50 and 60 different Facebook platforms. We are global on Hot 101. The recorded program goes to Instagram, YouTube, George, Twitter, LinkedIn. What am I forgetting? George?
Yeah, that's right.
I got it all. Okay, great.
Yeah, you got it.
I got everything. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to say that we're building an empire here, but we're doing what we can.
I like to hear that. All right. Wish me good luck. Hopefully
I will send you the show phone number as well.
Okay,
in case you need to ring in anything exciting happens. I'll send you the show phone number. You can ring into the phone number, but we're going to try to make it to 6 o'clock. We're going to let the big boys, we're going to let the national outlets do the heavy lifting tonight. That's not my gig. We're just trying to, we want to hear your voting stories, ladies and gentlemen, wherever it is that you're listening around. And that's Agira. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that we couldn't I'm sorry that we couldn't do the whole program together, but I appreciate you being here. And, we're going to do a lot more together in the future.
Definitely.
Thanks for being here.
Definitely. Bye.
Thank you. She does a great program every week. Hers is very similar to what we do. She does a much more controlled, shorter program. She does not ramble on the way I do, and that's probably a good thing. She has the gift of talk, but she's much more controlled than I. She's great guests, really important discussions, really powerful discussions. She's an extremely smart individual. She also does motivational speaking and so on. She's a great progressive voice and champion, but also very open-minded. If you don't happen to agree with her politically, that's great. She's still someone that you can speak to and have a great discussion and learn things. Exactly what we try to do here. You don't have to agree with her on everything, but she has a great program of her own. It's I will find the title of it. I believe it's just the Higir Show, but I will try to find it because I do like it on Facebook, and I'll try to dig through the Facebook, or perhaps George can dig through the Facebook and find it. And I will make sure that I give you the name of that show, and I'll probably butcher her last name, which is dreadful of me to do. It makes me feel awful when I do it, but it is difficult to pronounce for me because I haven't said it enough, and then I tend to butcher it, and then I feel awful every time I do that. I'm just sending her the show phone number. So again, the phone line is open. It is 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Approaching the top of the hour, 5 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. The phone line is open. We have no callers at the moment, obviously, because I'm not speaking to anyone. The chat is open. That other side of information is the home base for all things the Kennedy Effect on Facebook. That other side of information. The show is currently airing live across the 50 to 60 different Facebook platforms to every single group, and I really mean it. The Hub for Progress, Lehigh Valley Progressive Network, Battleground Pennsylvania, Operation Biden 2020, I Thrive Community, of course, which is April's outlet, the home Facebook page for hot101.net, of course, which is a really vital outlet and a great Facebook page because you actually get to see the great DJs at hot101.net working their magic, and it's really cool. They have great home studios, and the lights are going, and the guys and gals get really into what they're doing, and it's really fun to watch sometimes. And well, not sometimes. I mean, it's fun to watch all the time, but I mean, it's a neat, different way to take in what's happening at Hot 101. And we're on that Facebook page. We're at Our Revolution National, Our Revolution Pennsylvania. There's just so many different pages where you can take in the show live, and of course, it lives on there as a recording. It is our home page, however, where I will see your name, say hello to you. You can enter a comment or a question for me when we have guests. You can enter it for the guests. You can even enter show suggestions, or if you have a suggestion for a guest that we should have here on the program, you can always send that to us as well. If you have a business, a product, a service, or something that you would like to promote through the program, this program goes literally all over the globe. And not only do you get to have a live read by the dulcet tones that I have, but that ad lives on in the recorded program. So you get to, you not only get the live read, but that ad will continue to play recorded on and on and on in the recorded form of the program. Just email us thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. That is the main email address for all things regarding the Kennedy Effect. thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. You can live tweet the show. No one has done so as of yet, but that's okay. We don't have a ton of followers. That's growing each and every time we take the air. We are live right now. You can tweet us at That Kennedy Talk. At That Kennedy Talk. You can tweet us right now. The thing that I was going to ask George, he knows, I believe, you do know a bit more about, I shouldn't say I believe that you do, you know more about Twitter than I, is that if someone tweets at us and it's not directly in front of my screen, would I still see it, or do I have to scroll down to see it, or does it come to me in a separate, place where it would, how would I find it, I guess is the long and short of my question. I guess it comes to me as a mention, or it comes on that bell.
Yeah, it should.
It would come on the bell,
yeah,
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it should come on the bell, because it would be an alert on your feed. So.
Got you. Excellent. Thank you so much. That is my, I think I'm promoting you to associate producer. The raise that comes with that is staggering. You wouldn't even. Yes.
It's 0 times 0 and then carry the 0.
Correct.
Okay. Oh,
Correct.
Great. Thanks.
No, it's actually the
it's the negative. Sorry.
It's 0. It's 0.
It was in the negatives. It wasn't a negatives.
Well, no, you were in the negative because of the demerits.
Yeah, I got the demerits. Yeah.
You got the demerits. It's 0 to the third power, really, if you think about it, because we do the. You've been here today. You've been putting up the pictures and stuff for me, which is brilliant, which is exactly what we were talking about before we took the air. That is exactly what I was trying to achieve. You've already been doing it. associate producer, and engineer and IT tech. So really 0 to the 4th power.
Oh,
I mean, your pay is growing exponentially. I would be quite thrilled if I were you.
wow. If I get up to 1, that would be great.
Well,
I
see,
know.
now you're just getting snarky.
I'm sorry.
See, now
Just
you're
getting cocky. See that?
Yeah,
I just went back down to 0 again.
See, now I might have to take an exponent out. Now I might have to. Now it might only have to be 0. You were at 0 to the 4th. Now I might have to drop it back down.
No, I'm getting cocky again.
Now,
okay.
See, now you're going to make me throw laptops, and then you're going to have to fix them.
Oh boy, here we go.
And now you don't want that. You don't want to fix broken laptops.
No, because it might hit the board. If it's a soundboard, that's it. We're done.
Well, no, I would never throw the Mac. I like Apple stuff too much. I'll throw the window.
No, I meant if it hit the soundboard.
So. Oh, no. Well, no. Well, if I throw the Windows one, it's not connected to anything. Nobody cares about that. I don't even care about that. It's mine. Anyway, you can email us thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, and tweet us at that Kennedy Talk. I still have to really work myself through that one, at that Kennedy Talk. Anywhere that you may be watching on Facebook, you can come to that other side of information, drop a comment or a question in the live chat. It is going right now. You may please feel free to do so and chat with George or I, or contribute to George's staggering salary. You may feel free to do that as well. The phone line is open. Also, 267-227-9189. Anyone listening on the hot101.net feed, especially the main website, the Apple app, the Android app, TuneIn Radio, tell me about your voting story. How did it go for you voting? Are you a first-time voter? Are you a mail-in voter? Just tell me how it went for you today. Did you vote early but in person? Did you vote via mail many weeks ago? I would like to hear from someone through Hot 101. Tell me about how your voting went. Are you in Florida? Are you in North Carolina? Are you in California, Texas, Montana? Name the state. I don't care where from. We just would like to hear your voting story. And what issue drove you to the polls this particular cycle? Do you love Trump? Are you a Republican who loves Trump and you wanted to go vote for him again? You felt very strongly you support him and you wanted to do that and needed to get to the polls again? Great. We would love to hear from you. You are welcome here. You are respected here. Of course, we will disagree, and that's okay. But we will we'll have a conversation. We respect you. We'll disagree, but we'll have a conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. Are you a first-time voter and you're 18, 19, 20? It's the first presidential election you've ever voted in. Tell me about it. We want to hear about it. Did you apply for a mail-in ballot and never got it? We'd like to hear about that. Did you vote on an ES&S voting machine and the screen didn't work? The machine didn't work. Did the machine crap out on you? Did you try to vote all on the Democratic line and the Republican line lit up? Did you vote on the Republican line and the Democratic line lit up? Tell me about the voting machine, your experience with the voting machines. We would like to hear it. We want to hear about your voting experience. We just want to, we're going to try to carry the program to 6 p.m. I still have to get up at 3:30 in the morning and go back to work tomorrow, and I would still like to have dinner. So we're going to try to go to 6 p.m. We will especially carry it to 6 p.m. if this program stays interactive. If we continue to get calls, if we get tweets or emails, we'll keep it going with you. But we really do want to hear, your voting story. We want to know how you are voting. how you did vote. Not, and if you don't want to get into the issues themselves, if you don't really want to talk politics, that's fine. We're cool with that. We're just curious, in this most important of years, what drove you? What drove you? We want to hear your voting story. Let us see it. I just got a text from Gear, which I will read right now. And I really hope I was saying her name right the whole time, because again, I'm not practiced with it. I got a photo from her about a dodgy poll watcher somewhere in Philadelphia. Well, what she did send me, though, actually, George, I'm going to forward this to you. Perhaps we could put up the phone numbers of some voter protection hotlines. I will copy this. And send this on to you for the phone numbers. We could put the phone numbers up, perhaps. Copy. I am still getting some texts, folks, that I will share with you along the way. Forgive me for a little bit of the pauses and so on, because I'm getting some news coming in across the way. I just got a graphic from Robert Dietrich about interesting website reporting on mail-in ballots that I might want to share. Let me see if I can get this graphic. It, of course, is going to take a dog's age to open. Of course, because I'm trying to share something with you. It's taking a dog's age to open. Any of the rural coalition candidates want to call in. Now is a good time. Again, folks, the phone number is 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. Again, I'm not trying to beat you up with heavy politics and issues. If you're not looking to get into that, that's fine. We don't have to discuss any of that. We don't have to get into deep politics if you don't want to argue issues. We're not looking for that. I just want to hear, and I want to share with our audience, with the Hot 101 family, with the nation. We want to hear your voting stories. How did you vote? How did it go? You don't have to tell us who you voted for, but we don't even need to know that. That's personal. If you want to share it, we'll listen, but you don't have to share that if you do not wish to share that. We just want to know your voting story. How did you vote? How did it go? Did you enjoy it? Was it easy? Was it hard? Did it bother you? Did you hate it? Did you love it? What did you think? Just what did you think of it? How important was it to you? Here's a phone. Love it. Area code 610, your first name and where you are calling from. Welcome to the program.
Hi there, this is Becky in Bethlehem.
Becky from Bethlehem. I love it. How are you? And thank you for being here.
Well, you're welcome, Jeff. I am a longtime listener, first time caller, and I'm excited about it.
You sound absolutely over the moon, I have to say.
Yes, well, I just wanted to call and wish everyone a happy election day and tell a story about taking my brother to vote today.
Please tell me your election.
So-
Tell me your election story. Tell me your voting story.
Well, so I work in politics locally, and my whole family knows that I'm very politically active. They like to give me a ton of crap about that, and sometimes I can't tell when my brother is telling me a lie or the truth when we come to talk about voting. And he kept telling me months and months now that he wasn't going to vote. And then today he called me and said, "You think you could give me a ride so that I could go vote?" And I said, "Well, I thought you weren't going to go vote." And he said, "No, I was just doing that to mess with you. I'm going to vote." So
It was nice of
I
him.
was very happy about that. I was able to take him. I was able to take my mom. I was able to get my roommate squared away at the voting booth. So I think overall, good day. And anybody who's not out there yet should get out there ASAP.
What did you see? Well, first off, what area was the polling place that you went to?
So he went to Donegal Elementary in Bethlehem, and it didn't seem like there was much of a line.
And what time of day was this roughly?
Probably about 4:30.
Oh, so just not that long ago, maybe 45 minutes
Not
ago?
long ago, yeah. And then earlier today, when I took my mom, she votes at the library in Allentown, and there wasn't a line there. I was just checking social media, though. There do seem to be some lines around some of the places in Lehigh County so far. So I think as 5 o'clock creeps closer, or 6 o'clock creeps closer and closer, we're going to see more people coming to the polls after work.
What did you see? And folks, for everyone watching and listening around the country, there are what you have probably heard if you've been following this election at all, even passively, even if you hate politics and you've been listening to this at all. There are battleground states: Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, even Texas might be in play, Arizona.
Iowa.
The key to this election is going to come down to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but even inside Pennsylvania, there are battleground counties: Beaver County, possibly York, Montgomery, Bucks. But there has been worldwide international reporting for about the last 18 months or so that the entirety of this presidential election is going to come down to right where I'm speaking to you from, Northampton County, and to an ever so slightly lesser extent, Lehigh County, the Lehigh Valley here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So this is why we're so lucky to have Becky ring in and tell us what she's been seeing around the Lehigh Valley. I have seen reports of very long lines, even in small places like Hellertown, which is literally just a stone's throw from where I am now. What did you see outside of the polling place? You said you didn't see that much of a line. What did you see in terms of distancing, masks, politicking?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people outside. I'm assuming as poll observers. They were all wearing masks. They all had chairs.
Did you see a lot of politicking going on outside?
No,
Last minute.
As far as the politicking goes, at least at this polling station, there wasn't much. I know that the people were explaining to my brother as he came out what ward he was in and what ward he should vote at, which is where we were. So, but I was even downtown today, and I've seen some groups walking around with every vote count information like that. But they have a hat and shirts and sweatshirts They're out there canvassing right now as we speak, trying to get people turned out to the polls as well. So there's a lot going on today, and I'm just glad we're coming to the end of it.
I think
Well,
I think the country might be glad that we're coming to the end of it. It's been exhausting, but every election is also a chance at renewal. It's a chance to change course. It's a chance to start over. You mentioned that you work in this, that you do this for a living. You're one of the people that follows us on a day-to-day basis. What do you what is your sense of this entire thing? Are you optimistic, not necessarily just for a result, but are you optimistic about what this election has brought, the participation, the amount of people who are involved and paying attention, the way that folks are paying attention to the issues? I mean, is this
you know, I've been doing this as long as some people have. It's only been about 4 years for me. I started right after Trump got elected. But in any case, you know, I've gone through 6 election cycles now 7 or 8. And it's like, well, the feeling around here is that people are tired of Trump, at least in the Lehigh Valley. Across Pennsylvania, I know we're a swing state and they're wondering which way we're going to go this year, but I really feel like we are going to go blue. And if we go blue, I'm pretty sure that Biden will win. So that's my feeling of it. I could be wrong, but we still have a lot of time to figure out what's going on. I think we may not even have an answer. Hopefully it'll be Friday once they get all of those ballots counted.
What is your feeling about the confidence, or your confidence in the count?
My confidence in the count in Northampton County is very good. We have a registrar there who is very thorough and knows her shit, for lack of a better phrase. So she's been doing a great job keeping things running smoothly in Northampton County. I know there's been some issues in Lehigh County with you know, other races that there's fraudulent people and people resigning from their position as a judge of elections because there's you know, there was fraudulent activity being monitored or watched. So I know they've changed a lot and put a lot of different things in place there. And so I'm hoping that we have voter protection units out there. And as well as I know our Attorney General, once reelected, Josh Shapiro, does have our back in the state of Pennsylvania. So hopefully that would mean all counties in Pennsylvania. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to undermine the legitimacy of the election. I feel like things are well on their way, and there's some people who do a good job, and there's some people who didn't do such of a good job. But that doesn't mean that things are going to turn out badly.
What is your feeling about the state level races? Not necessarily the row offices. I think those are probably pretty blue secure. What are you thinking about the legislative races, especially here locally?
Well,
they're not races that we've spent too much time on here on the program because they're mostly heavily gerrymandered districts. But what is your sense about the local?
Well, yes, you're right. They're heavily gerrymandered districts, that's for sure. My feeling is we need, in the state of Pennsylvania, we need to keep all the Democratic seats that we have and flip 9 in order to gain Democratic control in a state legislature. There's a lot of very good dynamic candidates around here. Yeah, Tara Zorinsky, Jason Ruff from the 183rd, good old Steve Samuelson, who's been around in Bethlehem forever, Eugene McNeil, who's on the West Bethlehem, Lehigh County side. You got Caitlin Brennan out in Nazareth running against a longtime incumbent Joe Emmerich. A lot of these people have worked really hard over the last year to be able to get people turned out for themselves as well, not just the presidential. And from what I'm seeing, there's a couple that could be really close to winning. In fact, the race that I've worked on in the past, Jason Ruff, I'm feeling like Jason has a very good chance of pulling out a win this time around. I know he did a lot of outreach to people for mail-in ballots. And he lives in a highly gerrymandered district, but he's also reached across the aisle and gained a lot of Republican support as well. So there's a lot of really interesting races that I'm excited to see, the outcome tonight, which could then very well help our Democratic governor pass meaningful legislation that our current legislature and state Senate have just basically been vetoing because they're Republican.
And as someone that is involved in this stuff, what happens to you after 8 p.m. tonight or tomorrow morning? I know that the count will probably be continuing for a few days. I mean, do you just sleep?
Well, for me, it's a little different. The organization that I'm working with this time around has me under contract until the end of November because I've got to close up an office and take care of things there and closing down utilities and things like that, which will take some time. But no, I absolutely plan on sleeping tomorrow and not doing anything. For any organizers that you talk to or any campaign workers, they're going to tell you they're exhausted. Well, so we've been fighting a really great fight for the last 4 years, and everyone told us it's not a marathon or it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I feel like I'm coming to the end of the marathon and I'm going, someone take my stick, right? It's a relay race. Like, take it from me. I've got to sit down now. So I'm kind of excited just to see what all of our hard work has come to and just get a general sense of accomplishment.
Well, Becky, thanks for ringing in and giving us a bit of an update, especially on the state races. I mean, we had some candidates call in earlier, but it's nice to get a different perspective, a non-candidate perspective, and also just, go into the polls, just a go into the polls sort of perspective. And I appreciate you giving us, almost 15 minutes of your time. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for being part of the program, and thank you for listening to the program.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for what you're doing. It's a great show. Love it. Keep listening, and let's all just hope for victory sooner than later.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned. Stay part of the program. Stay part of the family. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye now.
Bye now. Interesting to get a different perspective. And yes, Becky might be part of, the political world, but it was, just a story about taking, taking someone to the polls. And that's pretty interesting, seeing maybe not so long a lines, but expecting, again, that after work crowd's going to come. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens then. How it's going to go quite then. George has put up some phone lines on the screen. If you're watching on Facebook, wherever you may be watching, we're happy that you're with us. It doesn't necessarily matter to us where you're watching. We're just happy that you are. There are some, wow, DOJ. I wouldn't exactly count on DOJ. Exactly right now. I wouldn't count on the Department of Justice, to be honest. There are some phone lines that Agir had sent. Now, George found a Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, that can be contacted if you're having problems voting. There's a phone line on the screen. If you're watching on Facebook, there's a phone line there. We know the Trump Department of Justice has not exactly been too helpful, but the number is there. You can try it. There's also a number that two phone numbers that Hagir had sent us that I will put on the Facebook chat. A line for the ACLU and a line for the PA voter hotline and a line for the ACLU. I'll put them in the Facebook chat for you. The Bill Barr DOJ has not exactly been helpful, but that is supposed to be what they're there for. If you can't get a hold of anyone else, and if you're in line and you have a smartphone and you think you're being hard done, if you think you're getting the shaft, and you do a quick search, a DuckDuckGo search or a Google search, and you get the Department of Justice, then by all means you call them. If that's the only people that you can get help from, then, or the only phone number that pops up on your screen, then by all means you call them. But what I will do is in the Facebook chat, I will put a couple of phone numbers. If you're watching and listening, it's not going to be too exciting, but I will put the phone numbers in the chat there so you can see them. There's the PA voter hotline, and that is put a little space there so you can read it, 1-877-868-3772. So that's one. The Pennsylvania voter hotline, PA, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, has a voter hotline. And I have put it in the Facebook chat for the home base for everything, the Kennedy Effect, everything for this show. Our Facebook homepage, that other side of information, we have that phone number in there. The PA voter hotline, 1-877-868-3772. And I will also add in there a hotline for the ACLU hotline, which is 1-866. You're listening to me type it. That's how you know we're live, kids, as I'm typing as we go. Our vote. 1-866 our vote. 1-866 OUR vote. 1-866 our vote is the ACLU. I would trust that big time. To be honest with you, I would trust it no matter what part of the political spectrum you're from. If you're a Republican and you think you're hard done, I'd call the ACLU. That is what they do. They're the American Civil Liberties Union. They uphold rights. That's what they do. And if you think your rights are being violated, you call them. That's what they do. So we want to hear your voter stories. It's 5:30, just literally clicked over. How about that for timing? Almost like a radio guy, almost like he knows what he's doing, huh? It's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time in the Eastern time zone of the United States, here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in my humble second bedroom. Really wish I could fix that part of that mic. It is Election Day 2020, the end of the 2020 election cycle. We're coming down to the close of this long election cycle. I got bad news for you folks. The 2024 presidential election cycle is going to start in about a few days. I got bad news for you. the networks will start handicapping the candidates for the next presidential election within a few days. It's a constant business now because it draws eyeballs to the screen. But we can cross that bridge when we come to it. It's 5:30 Eastern time here in the Eastern time zone of the United States. Election Day 2020, the close of the election cycle. Wherever you are watching on Facebook, if you are watching live, we appreciate it very, very, very much. This very special edition, a pop-up, just kind of thought of doing this yesterday, to be perfectly honest. Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, but finally decided to do it yesterday, this pop-up edition of the Kennedy Effect for Election Day 2020. Wherever you're watching on Facebook, we appreciate it. If you watch the recorded version, it might seem a little out of date to watch it after the election day. It might seem a little weird, but hey, we appreciate it no matter what you, just that you're part of the program means everything to us. It really, really does. If you're not watching and listening, then there's no program. Let's just be blunt. So we're happy that you are with us. Anywhere that you are watching on Facebook, that's awesome. You can stay where you are and keep watching. But if you come to the home group page for the program, it is a public page. That other side of information, that's where we will see you, say hello. We can take your questions and comments there. To our sisters and brothers, our family at hot101.net, thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing me into your homes, your cars, your smart speakers, your devices, however you listen to hot101.net. Thank you for being there. We appreciate it very, very much. If you don't know how to listen to hot101.net, you can go to the main website page, hot101.net. Our information does not appear there yet as part of the family, but trust me, we are part of the family. We'll get this mug of a face up there somewhere pretty soon. We're working on that. And you can find us at hot101.net, the Apple app for hot101.net. The Android app is at the Google Play Store. And you can use the TuneIn Radio app to listen to hot101.net. If you want to advertise here on the Kennedy Effect, email us. This is a great place to advertise. It is inexpensive. You can reach literally a global audience, and your advertisement will live on in the recorded programs. Our program is on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and LinkedIn, as well as all of the recorded places that it is shared at Facebook. It is a great value to advertise here at the Kennedy Effect. Email us, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. You can also tweet us at thatkennedytalk. I just sang there a little bit. That was a little odd. I just sang there very quickly for you. So if you don't want that to happen again, you might want to call the program. Our phone line is open. 267-227-9189. We've had we've probably doubled the number of phone calls that we've had throughout the program, throughout the history of the program. We've probably doubled that tonight. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189 is the phone number. The line is currently open for business. I have no new news out of Michelle Siegel's 27th district as far as running out of ballots. Oh no, I take that back. Let me correct that. Breaking correction news, he said. They are moving more ballots into Michelle's district because they were running out. So they are moving more ballots into Michelle's district here. They were literally running out of ballots. I mean, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. So there's that. But we want to hear your voting stories. We just want to know what your we want to know your voting stories. I mean, it's that it's that simple. We just want to know how you did voting today. We want to know how you did voting today. That's all we want to know. How did you go? How did you vote? Did you vote by mail? Did you get your ballot in the mail? Did you surrender your ballot and then vote by in person? What did you do? What motivated you? Let me see. It appears now that the Republicans have actually gotten an injunction in Montgomery County to get. Oh, okay. We do have your first name and where you are calling from, please. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, Jeff, it's Lisa calling. And right now I'm in lovely Sunbury. Just got here.
Lisa Longo, who is providing campaign management to only, what was it, Lisa, 34 candidates, is it?
No, just 2 this time. Couldn't do much else because the congressional district is so big. I mean, the Lee Griffin's campaign, the PA-12, is 15 counties, as you know, so that's kept me a little busy.
So you just arrived at a hotel in Sunbury?
Yes.
Are you done for the night?
I am.
Or are you heading back out? Are you?
Oh yeah, we're going back out. We're having, Lee has a small gathering. We found a restaurant that has an outdoor area. So friends and staff, we are going to be there, but we also have a Zoom if anybody wants to join us. We also will have Zooms with Amanda Waldman, Jackie Baker. Hopefully Michelle Siegel will join us, and Katie Evans, and whoever else wants to come on. All of our volunteers, all the 15 counties, we've sent it to the chairs. So we'll be watching from 8 to 10, and then we're all going to disperse, and then we have a late night Zoom set up starting at 10:30 as well. If anybody wants to jump back in and watch late night returns with us.
What is your feeling, generally speaking, today? Other than some relief that we've reached the end, but what is your feeling about? I mean, you left everything on the field, to use a sports analogy, but what's your general feeling about everything today?
So I think the pandemic, with us not being able to have volunteers at polls, is definitely going to impact us here in rural. I think, a lot of the voters I spoke to really weren't even aware of down ballot candidates, which is, very disappointing always. So I'm always worried about that down ballot drop off. And I think that's going to be an impact. But overall, I feel great. We had very positive conversations at polls today. The voters who did speak to me, regardless of party, we weren't asking party, but we were talking, and I was in mainly Republican, very heavily Republican precincts. That's where I was all day. And majority of voters were willing to talk to us about our candidates. So I only had one woman make a nasty comment. I found it was highly interesting. When I offered her information on candidates, she said, what party are they? And I said, no, they're Democrats. She goes, oh, no thanks. And I said, okay, have a nice night. And then when she walked out, she said, it's too bad we couldn't vote out that Dick Tighter Wolf. And I was like, oh, well, glad I didn't waste my wit on you, because obviously you're, too far gone to have a conversation. So that was the only negative comment I had all day. I found that really promising.
What did you see outside of the polls that you visited? Long lines, short lines, distancing, masks. Was there a lot of politicking going on outside of the polls? Did you see Trump trains, no Trump trains? I mean, what did you see, generally speaking, outside of the polls that you were able to visit today?
Yeah, I didn't see any Trump trains. Again, since I was in heavily Republican precincts, we did see a lot of people without masks. One of the most shocking things for me, I was actually I was with Amanda Waldman, who's also running for the State House and running her campaign. And she and I were at a polling place, her opponent's home precinct, so it's where he votes. And he actually came to vote and was asked if he would like a mask to go into the polling place. And he kind of scoffed and was like, nope, and refused to put on a mask to go into the polling place. So I just think it shows such an utter disregard for the safety of the workers, the other voters. There were many elderly people. And I was just stunned. I was just absolutely stunned. So that was the most shocking thing I saw. That there were long lines in the morning. As the day went on, we saw shorter lines. And then the last polling place I was at, there was, no more than 5 people on the line. But in the morning, there were probably 100 people on line. Different polling places. So I was going throughout the area.
Now
not a lot of politicking. I didn't see, that was the only poll, the first poll I was at with Joe Hamlin's voting. He had a table set up. His wife was, I think it was his wife. I'm not sure, I should say. There were people there. And that's when he came to vote.
Now, I got some news earlier that has since been updated that some of the precincts in Northumberland, which I believe is in Northumberland County, I believe is in Lee's district, but then again, half of the earth is in Lee's district. Is just the largest territorial district you're ever going to want to see. We're literally running out of ballots. And that they are now moving ballots into Sunbury and Milton. What does that tell you? I know what it tells me, and I kind of know what the answer to the question is, but I'm asking you to tell us and the listeners, viewers, what does that tell you?
From my perspective, just from my experience, higher turnout in areas is usually an opposition kind of vote. So I would think it would, hopefully be good for the presidential candidates for Biden. I hope it is good news for our down ballot candidates. I think turnout in the 12th district overall in 2016 was only just over 60%. So our goal all along was at least 80, but if we get to 90%, that would be incredible. So I think my take on it is that's very good news. Higher turnout, I think, favors the Democratic candidates. What do you think?
I am reminded of I'm going to put George on the spot. I am reminded of the short video of Paul Weyrich from 70, I think it's from 79, where he tells a gathering of evangelicals that he tells them, you all have something called the goo-goo complex, good government. You want everyone to vote. I don't want everyone to vote. The truth is that our influence in elections goes up as the voting populace goes down. Paul Weyrich ran the Reagan campaign in 1980. He was one of the founders of ALEC before it was essentially bought out wholesale by the Koch brothers. And he was a leading edge consultant and power broker that led the Republican Party into the neo-fascist party it is now. And yes, so that is a long-winded way of me saying I agree with you that there's a reason and a method, a reasoning under which why Republicans try to drive down the number of people who can vote, because they do better that way. So if there are precincts asking for ballots, that's a damn good thing. And we entered the day today before any votes were cast in person anywhere in the United States. 90 plus million people had voted early. That is 2/3 of the total number of people who voted in 2016. So people are voting. And that's, and look, you and I obviously believe they should be voting a certain way, but to be blunt, I'm just happy they're voting. It takes you just a few damn minutes to vote. It's a civic duty. It doesn't, and voting never, I shouldn't say voting never killed anybody, but which is, a turn of phrase, but it's not hard to be civically engaged. It only takes a few minutes to vote. My dad took me to vote with him when you were still allowed to do such a thing. I don't think you're even allowed to take young children with you to vote anymore, but you when I was, I don't know, 6, we're very, very young. He took me to vote, explained to me how important it was. So just the fact that people are going to vote, I think is a damn good thing. I'll take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have found this, I'm a number cruncher, and I have found that you're correct. As the turnout goes up, so Democratic candidates generally do better. But I had a great conversation today with a voter, a Republican voter, and he said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Don't tell me who to vote for. And I said to him, sir, I would never tell you who to vote for. And he said, what? And I was like, I'm simply offering information so you can make an informed choice. But have a nice day. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, let me look at that. So I think, that is such a great way of going at it, with people are saying, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm just giving you candidate information, and I hope you'll look at it. That's it.
So when you talked to, I don't know when the last time was that you spoke with Lee, you'll be seeing him again later. What was what was his mood? What was Amanda's mood? What was Jackie's mood? Of the candidates that you had the opportunity to speak with today, what is the general mood?
Yeah, they were all really excited. They were enjoying the day. They were really enjoying talking to voters and greeting voters. It's not something we've been able to do because we've really not been canvassing a lot. We've mostly been doing lit drops. So today is an opportunity to speak directly to voters. And from what I could see, they had big smiles. They all seemed very relaxed. I think tonight, everybody has their events going on, and we'll be able to get some more feedback. But I think they're also tired. They've all been working so hard. And so I think that's why none of them wanted to jump on right now. I think everybody's probably taking a quick cat nap before tonight, because we all, we're going to be up, I think, quite late tonight.
All right. Well, I will hold this against all of them. I'm Irish. I know how to hold a grudge. I will hold this against all of them. I mean, there's no question. They will pay. They will pay dearly for this. There's no doubt about it. Well, we were probably going to wrap up at 6 anyway, but I'm just, I'm going to let the big boys do the vote totals and so on. With today's program was not so much about that kind of news, but I really wanted to get a feel for what was going on around the Commonwealth and hear some stories from voters and so on. I don't want to get predictions from you necessarily, but you've been through a lot of these. What struck you as different, other than being in a different part of the Commonwealth today that you don't normally frequent? What struck you as different today?
I think today what struck me most was the long lines and the patience everyone exhibited. People standing on lines were chatting with each other. They were, friendly to each other. People didn't seem tense, and I expected a lot of tension and maybe even some nastiness, and I saw none of that. I was really pleasantly surprised. I tend to, if I see an older veteran and I look at their hat, because they usually have on their hat, and especially if they have on a Navy or an Army hat, I tend to talk to them. My brother's Navy, my dad was Army. So I had a great conversation with a man who was telling me how his remembrances about Pearl Harbor. I mean, that was a really awesome conversation. And so I think that was, one of the nicest things for me today was talking to voters. And I guess I didn't expect that. I expected a lot more, anger from people, because that's kind of what we're told is out there. And I just didn't find that to be true.
Has this election, oddly enough, for all of the negativity and ugliness, and oddly enough, I would say this, I don't think this is the most negative campaign that I can recall. It's not. Trump might be the most negative, the bag of flesh that I can remember, but I don't think this has actually been the most negative campaign that I can recall. I've seen worse. But in an odd way, has this campaign, when you have and describe the conversation that you just did, does it restore your faith a bit?
It does, because with the pandemic, living in the social media bubble, we've just seen so much negativity and nastiness and disinformation online on social media. And so, what it ends up, and I'm thinking about that today, I think that is actually a way of negative campaigning. Like, I think that some of our candidates' opponents were sending their friends and even at times, colleagues to come and post negative, nasty things on social media as if that was going to impact. And so seeing that didn't work and having positive conversations, that gives me a lot of hope. I think, to me, it shows me a path forward. We need more in-person, one-on-one conversations with voters. And I'm not sure how to make that happen in a district as big as the 12th. It is the largest district in the state. And to me, of course, it's the most important. It's right through the middle of Pennsylvania. So I think it teaches us a lesson as well that there's no, there's no recipe that's going to ruin people's ability to think independently. Like, that's what they're trying to do online, right? They're trying this disinformation campaign. And I'll tell you, I learned something surprising because I was listening to a lot of talk radio and news while I was driving around. And do you know that the number one source of disinformation, do you know what that is right now? Any states?
Ooh. Oh, there's so many to choose from.
I know. I think you're going to be surprised at the answer, though. This was on an NPR station. Yeah, I didn't hear who did the study. I'm going to have to dig it out. But it's actually Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was going to say the federal government.
Well, it's not the government at all. It's Donald Trump. It's the person. And they have been tallying. They've been looking at all the news sites. I mean, and think about how many terrible, Breitbart type, faux news. But it's actually Donald Trump himself is the largest purveyor of disinformation in the United States. That's terrifying to me. So I'm hoping tonight we have a good result, and we can move back to a more civil discourse, more, measured government. I mean, really, this has been turned into a spectacle. The other realization I had was the way the Trump campaign is running their campaign, it's like a sporting event to them. They're not here to govern. They're not here to create policy. They're here to win, and that's it. And they don't care how they win.
Because winning keeps the money rolling in.
Right. So that was another realization for me that I really hit me hard, because I think that just, to me, that's unspeakable. You know, I take governing really seriously in public policy, and I think, yeah, it just came clear to me. Trump and his campaign, they don't care. And I think the reason why you don't see it as very negative is because Joe Biden refused to answer the Trump negativity with negativity. And he maintained a positive message about what he was going to do and what he wants to accomplish. And he refused to play Trump's game. And I think that's why Biden's doing so well, especially with senior citizens, because they see through that Trump nonsense now. You know, he talks a good game, but he's incapable of seeing it through. Like, you see that from his business dealings, how many, 6 failed businesses, and how many times he went into bankruptcy. So I think people are now seeing that for what it is.
Well, then, at the risk of getting negative, are you concerned at all about the count anywhere in any of the districts that you are either personally overseeing or managing, or the candidates that you're managing, or just generally throughout the Commonwealth? Because let's just be honest, again, you and I are inside this wall. We're in this business. The reporting on this, especially from outside sources of the United States, has been pointing to the Commonwealth, and more specifically Northampton County, as the absolute ground zero bellwether. However wins here wins this presidency, period, for almost 18 months. And it was nice of the domestic media to kind of sort that out in the last couple of weeks. There are other bellwether counties inside the Commonwealth, and it seems that the Commonwealth itself is going to be the of the 50 that is probably going to determine this thing. But even inside the Commonwealth, it's here in Northampton and to a lesser degree, but only barely, Lehigh. For the candidates that you are managing, and then to a greater extent, as someone like myself who's inside this business, are you concerned about the counts anywhere?
Absolutely. We've already heard about the lawsuit that's been filed in Montgomery County.
Montgomery, yes.
Yeah, where they were contacting voters if their mail-in ballot was incorrect.
Well, I don't know. Are there 2 suits there now? Because there was another suit that was filed by the Republican congressional candidate running against Madeline Dean, that they were pre-canvassing ballots before 7 a.m. So I don't know if there's two lawsuits down there now.
I'm talking. That was not the one I'm talking about. Someone forgot to sign their outer envelope, that they were actually, before they keep this envelopes, that if it didn't have a signature, they're calling the voter and giving them an opportunity to come in and sign that ballot,
right,
so it would not be discarded. So I know that they have filed a suit to stop that. To me, again, it's just another way they're trying to disenfranchise the voter. Like, come on, somebody made an honest mistake. This is new. We've never had to do this before. And they weren't checking parties. Like, they were doing it for everyone. So the Republicans, again, they shoot themselves in the foot, because there could be more Republican votes that are going to end up being discarded than Democratic votes. And their entire the questioning of the mail-in, what I'm really worried about, and I think there's 3 different things. The first thing is, I do think that there will be a lawsuit to not count ballots received after 8 o'clock. So if the post office delivers ballots tomorrow, I think there will be a lawsuit. I did hear our Attorney General speaking about this both this morning and last night on CNN and MSNBC, saying no, those votes will be counted, and he feels quite confident that the lawsuit, we will prevail, our side. So that's the first thing I'm worried about. The second thing I'm worried about is discarding of mail-in ballots. That's each precinct. It's the judge of elections, and I know, firsthand, I've seen some pretty partisan judges of elections. And my daughter used to work inside a polling place. And I can remember at least 2 elections when she had to call me and to intervene with the judge of elections. One time he was insisting on ID when, we don't have to show ID. So we put a stop to that. And, another time, God, now that just went out of my head. I forget what the second thing was. There were 2 times she called me. And so I think, we really need to make sure that the minority judge and the judge of elections, that there's a lot of oversight going on. So that's the second thing I'm worried about is just, potentially ballots being, the hanging chad kind of thing.
Right.
And then, the last thing that I myself am really worried about is provisional ballots, slowing the count. And some, again, counties that are run by people who have an ideological bend that they want to slow the count. And if they slow the count enough, it's just going to give time for people to say that there's fraud going on. And what people don't understand is the same people slowing the count are the same people claiming there's fraud. And it's done purposefully. So I think, all of these things to me is why we need an independent election oversight board, at every level, from the local level, the state level, and the federal level. Our elections are no longer, sacrosanct. Like, we've got people who literally want to throw elections. I just can't comprehend that.
Well, if you can't win them on policy and you can't win them on issues, then rig them. Now, if this was you and I are not, you usually don't say this to a lady, but you and I are not young kids. If this was even the late 70s and we were seeing this happen in another country, the US, the UN, NATO, the so-called first world countries would be screaming about this on the floor of the United Nations about what a third world, banana republic, monkeyed, rigged, wrenched, insert proper term here, election this was. And yet here we are doing it here in what used to be a first world country. And it's become commonplace here now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. The ruling class that we've had in this country for a long time, the governing class, whatever you want to call them, it is shrinking. And that's that white, conservative, upper class, mostly lawyers now that are in Congress. They see that. They see that changing. And that's why they started stacking the judiciary, because they're not going to win the elections. They're going to start losing state houses. People are fed up with their bad policy that always leads to, at the federal level, a recession. Every time we have a Republican in the White House, we're in a recession. And if we hadn't had the pandemic, Donald Trump was heading into a recession anyway.
Correct.
Now, of course, he claims that it was the best economy ever. Well, no, we were already sliding into recession because of his bad policy. The only economic policy Donald Trump passed was massive tax cuts for the rich.
And of course, I'm sure you saw.
He didn't do infrastructure, nothing.
I'm sure you saw what was buried in that tax plan, which just came out in the New York Times yesterday. A tax increase for everyone making under $70,000. And if you make under $30,000, it's an even larger tax increase.
Yeah, well, I mean,
starting in
policy,
2021, isn't that convenient?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, yes, and I do know about that, but I mean, what people don't understand about conservative policy overall is that this is the goal of it, is to move the money to the top. When they talk about this massive redistribution of wealth, we have actually seen a massive redistribution of wealth. It took it from the middle class and the working class. It moved it to the uber wealthy. And
George was making a joke earlier in the program about the Kennedy effect bingo card, which we have to make, by the way. George is on listening at the moment. He's been playing actually on he hasn't been playing, he's been doing it, producing with me tonight. He's been jumping in every now and then. He's been doing a just a ridiculous job anticipating my own brain and putting video up for me about what I've been talking about and really putting a proper video presentation together tonight. But we do need to make a bingo card because we have mentioned Reagan. We did not get the Roosevelt yet, but we've mentioned trickle down, and this is what it is. It for those folks, Lisa, that you have those conversations with, that you have those one-on-one, tempered, kind, congenial conversations with. Those are the same folks that would still look you in the face and say, I don't want my money going to whatever, welfare queens, immigrants, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what, kids? Your money's already your money's been redistributed. It's already been redistributed, but it didn't go down. It went up, and you don't have any left.
Right. And when you take the time to have a conversation and explain that there's no such thing as a welfare queen, that's an oxymoron. Very few people, I work with the underserved population quite a bit, and when I'm not doing politics, and these are not people who want to sit home and, take this measly government check that is not enough to feed their children. That's what people don't understand. This is not a lot of money, and it's barely subsistence. And one of the things I do is teach people how to shop with their assistance check to make it go further, to make it enough so they can make the whole month. Because a lot of times it only lasts about 3 weeks. And you can't get diapers, and you can't get personal care products. So there's all kinds. So I just like that whole term. I really despise that term. So what we try to do, I work with a couple of organizations. One is called Bridges Out of Poverty. We try to teach people the language, and we try to teach people what it's really like to live in poverty. So we have workshops, and I'll have to have you do one so you can see what it's like. So we talk about the reality of it is if we gave people a living wage, this is the conversation I always have. If someone were making a living wage and then they didn't need SNAP assistance, and they didn't need medical assistance, and they didn't need housing assistance because they had a good job that offered medical and benefits, which is what all companies used to do in this country before Reagan and before his, democratization of money doctrine, which is like ridiculous. But, we created poverty at a massive scale in this country. And if we decided to force corporations to go back to that standard of paying a fair wage, offering benefits, we would save money, because we wouldn't need these welfare programs, and we could stabilize taxes. So Republican policy directly leads to higher taxes, and we can prove it. It's just nobody's taking the time to do it, and that's what we really have to do. We have to go into these blue collar areas, we have to go into the rural areas. We have to have these conversations with voters and explain to them, this is what costs you money. Me training somebody, having a job training program to teach somebody to be a plumber so they can get off welfare, that's good. That's where you want your tax dollars. Republican policy says, just keep them on welfare, because we're going to have wages so low that they're going to make more money sitting home on welfare. That's just stupid.
So what do you expect the next, 24, 36 hours for you to look like? And what does your gut tell you about the PA legislature, or the chances of the Democratic Party to flip the House, the state House and state Senate?
So I have been so consumed with just the two races that I was running and helping a few other candidates that I haven't really been following the national polls. And so honestly, I'm a blank slate. I'm going to wait for the returns to start coming in. I do feel good about the Senate. I feel good about our chances of that. And I think that that's essential, that we have to stop some of this really bad judicial push that we've seen from the Republican Party, where during the Obama administration, they held hundreds of judicial appointments so that when Trump got in office, there were 230 something open seats, which they have forced through. In many of these judges they forced through were rated not incompetent. What's the word?
Unqualified.
Unqualified. There you go.
By the American Bar Association, many of which never tried a case, including Amy Coney Barrett, by the way, who never tried a case in court. But what she did do, by the way, along with Chief Justice Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, they were on the ground in Florida during Bush v. Gore in 2000 and helped stop the vote count and hand the presidency to George W. Bush.
Yeah. And that,
by the way,
I mean, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of, saying that we need to stop a democratic process. But if they try to stop the vote count, that is when we're going to need to see massive action from the American people. We need to insist they cannot do that again. We are not going to let them steal another election. And look, Bush was not elected, he was appointed. That's just a fact.
By the Supreme Court, who made law out of thin air.
Exactly.
And now you have three of the principal figures in that on the ground effort sitting on the Supreme Court itself.
Yeah, and look, that's what this is always about for them. The Republicans had this long-term strategy, and it was always take the courts. Now we have a remedy. We have a really simple remedy, and the remedy is legislation. So we can.
Well, there are several. There are several remedies. One remedy is expand the Supreme Court to 15, increase the number of U.S. Circuit Courts from 12 to 24.
Yeah, I mean, all that is. I know both of those are possible. You can Supreme Court is at 11. There's all kinds of ideas out there, but I think the simplest and the most in keeping that even the Republicans cannot argue, because I've heard Republicans say this, legislate. So we can codify Roe v. Wade in law.
And make it unreviewable by the Supreme Court, by the way. Congress has that power. It only takes one line in a piece of legislation that says this legislation shall not be subject to review by the Supreme Court. You can do it.
Yeah.
It says so right in the Constitution.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, and why I think state legislatures are going to become more important. And, we have the House. Hopefully we'll get a few more in the Senate. And look, I think that there are many Republicans, I call them rational Republicans, who have rejected this Trump doctrine and the McConnell doctrine of obstruction and destruction.
There's not
many. That's all they're about.
There's not many. Sadly, there's not many. There's not enough.
There's not enough, but there's more every day. I mean, think about the Lincoln Project. Right? That's all Republicans.
Yeah, but they're not. I would have to respectfully disagree with you there. They are anti-Trump. They are Republicans. If he loses, Mr. Biden is sworn in at noon on January 20th. By 12:05, they'll be the first group that starts screaming about the deficit. Mark my words. I
agree with you.
They're not anti-Republican. They're anti-Trump.
Right. But I don't believe in single party rule. I think democracy requires opposition. And I don't want us to become a dictatorship. Whether we're a benign dictator, as the Democrats would be, or, not so benign on the other side. So I don't mind Republican opposition or Democratic opposition if we're in the minority. I think that's the way democracy operates.
They're going to go right back to where they started. They're going to go right back to where they started. They're going to start screaming about taxes and Social Security and the social safety net and deficits and all of that crap, like they've always done for 50 years.
And that
as soon as he's out of the way.
But then, now that we're gerrymandering is being exposed, we're, getting rid of it in some places, we're drawing better lines. And look, I have said this before, the next generation coming up behind the millennials, but also the millennials, there's some badass leaders coming up, and they are not going to put up with this nonsense. They grew up in this nonsense. My daughter has never known a world of peace. We have been fighting somewhere in the world, and she's had to be afraid of school shootings, of mall shootings, of movie theater shootings. This is the world they grew up in. And this is not the world they want for their future. So while I think you're right, some of these old school Republicans will revert, but even the next generation, I have so much hope. I do.
Let me get a word from you about the state legislature before the Commonwealth legislature before I let you get to maybe a cat nap or a rest or a shower, whatever you might need before the rest of the night. Any feeling about the Pennsylvania Commonwealth state legislature, House, Senate, both?
So, yeah, I mean, I think
gut feeling.
That my gut feeling is that we're going to do very well. I think there's a couple of key races that I have been watching where I think we're going to prevail. I think when I look at the state races, the biggest problem I have is the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. They played favorites. They tend to look for candidates who are running in easy districts. They go in and spend a lot of money, and they ignore everybody else. And there were a lot of winnable races that got no help whatsoever. Nothing. And we have to hold our own party accountable for that. There are races we are going to lose simply because we refused to help candidates. And yeah, some of these are in almost impossible districts to win where the numbers are against us, but we're never going to win those. We don't go in and do the work. And that's why I'm here in the PA 12, because the party was not helping any of these candidates. And I came out here to help because I knew how important this was. So when I look at the PA State House races, I can think of two candidates where the party worked against Democratic incumbents in the primary to try to unseat them. And when that was unsuccessful, gave them no help in the general. So when it comes to the state races, I love all our candidates. I think they've done a great job. They're all hard workers. I have a problem with what the party's done, and I am going to call them out. And I have been talking to a couple people already, and I said, get ready for the post-mortem because it's not going to be pretty.
I hope you're wrong, but I understand exactly where you're coming from. But you'll understand why I hope you're wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope I'm wrong on some of these races where I see the numbers. Look, you know me, I've been running the numbers for a week now. I hope that we are prevailing in more, but I think that there's some really hardworking candidates out there who just didn't get enough help and they didn't get enough money, and we need to fix that.
Lisa, I really want to thank you for calling in. I mean, you took a lot of time when you probably should take a nap.
That's okay. I wanted to talk
or
to you.
Get something to eat, or
yeah, no, I think it's nap for me.
Do a couple shots or a big glass of wine or something. I don't know, but you took a lot of time. I'm very, very grateful, and I fortunately or unfortunately will probably not be able to stay up too late and sort any of this stuff out because I still got to get up 3:30 in the morning and go to work. But I'm very, very grateful, very, very grateful that you took this much time. I think we'll try to carry at least to 6:30. I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to get to Lee or Margie or Jackie or Amanda, but please send them our best. And, we'll catch up soon, and you be safe out there in the hinterlands of the Commonwealth. Don't hit any deer or anything.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it. Thank you, George, too, for all he does. And
No,
I'll
George
talk
has been a
to you soon.
rock star tonight. He's been anticipating my thought patterns and putting things into video almost as I mention them, which is a frightening thing because there's a lot of creepy places to go on this planet, none more so than my brain. So he's been awesome tonight. Really, really grateful. It's been a good show. I'm glad to decide to do it. So great stuff.
Yeah.
So thanks for ringing in. I really
right.
appreciate it. Thanks so much. Be safe out there, okay?
All right. Thanks. Good night.
All right, take care.
Bye.
That was Lisa Longo. George, if you could turn your mic on, please. What did you put in the, you put a link on the Facebook page. That was the Paul Weyrich video, wasn't it?
Yes.
Referencing earlier. Yeah, Paul Weyrich is a, Weyrich, actually, is how you pronounce it. Folks, if you're in the video, if you're in the Facebook chat at That Other Side of Information, or if you go reference it later in the week, you click on that, you can watch it. Paul Weyrich is was a Republican operative and a super right-leaning neo-fascist before the neo-fascists were cool. And it is a video of him speaking in front of a group of evangelicals before evangelicals were cool, when the Republicans started really courting evangelicals and churchgoers and bringing them into this wild cabal of group of very competing interests almost to build this very odd coalition that they've built. Where he tells them, you know, you people have a goo-goo complex. He literally calls it the goo-goo complex, good government. You want good government. We don't want good government. You want everyone to vote. We don't want everyone to vote. And he's speaking about Republicans. He's speaking about the Republican Party. And he tells these folks, we don't want everyone to vote. Because our leverage, our meaning Republicans, our leverage, our power, our success in elections goes up as the voting populace goes down. And all the data, all of it, everywhere, even in red states, shows that when less people vote, when less votes are counted, Republicans do better. That's why there's so much voter suppression. That's why. That's why we don't want poor communities, middle-class communities, communities of color. You, my sisters and brothers at Hot 101, that's why they don't want you to vote. And that's why they've tried to stop you from voting. Because the more people vote, not just that all those folks always vote Democratic, but when the total number of people, the more of them vote, Democratic candidates do better. The less people that vote, the more votes that are thrown out, the less votes that are counted, the less legal votes that are counted when we use these wild legalistic maneuvers to throw out ballots and votes, Republicans do better. That's what Mr. Weyrich was talking about. Weyrich or Weyrich. Franz is correcting me because to be honest, I don't know which it is. Tom Hartman always says Weyrich. But you should watch the video. It's at That Other Side of Information. It is disturbing. Also posted at That Other Side of Information, because the page is arranged chronologically, You will have to scroll down a little bit, is the article from the New York Times written by Joseph Stiglitz from maybe 3 days ago now, that shows in the Republican tax cut bill of 2017 is a tax increase coming for you. If you make under $70,000 a year, beginning on January 1st, 2021, you're getting a tax increase. And if you make $30,000 or less, you're getting an even bigger tax increase. In no way do I mean to make a joke of the murder of George Floyd, but if you want to talk about an economic boot on the throat, that's exactly what it is. If you haven't voted yet, think about that while you're in the booth. (6:26) Eastern Time here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley. I think we're going to say goodnight for now, right about 6:30. So we have about 4 minutes to chat with you. If we do take a phone call now, I will take it. We haven't had any live tweets. George. Oh, wait, somebody did? Really? No. I don't know what happened. I thought I got an alert. I don't know how to use the damn thing, is what it really boils down to, because I really don't quite know how to use the Twitters, as the older folks would say. George?
Sorry, I was monitoring the Twitter feed. Sorry.
There was some kind of what looked like some kind of alert or something. I wanted to say thank you to you very, very much for sitting here for all of this long time. I'm sure your wife is not going to be happy with me in any way, shape, or form.
She's never happy with me, so that's
well, she's definitely I really want to thank you for sitting here for all this time. George has now added the title of associate producer, engineer, IT professional, and so on. But the video presentation bits that you were able to witness tonight on this special edition is something that I want to try to continue to do going forward. It's something that George and I have been discussing. I don't know that I'll be able to do it every program, or that we will be able to do it every program, because I haven't done squat all to do any of it. George has been doing it in the background. He's been doing it from his location through Zoom. I'm here in my location. A virus thing. We do it through Zoom. George is at his home in the Poconos. I am here in the Saucon Valley. So he's been doing the video from his end on the Zoom, almost anticipating to a great extent what I'm going to talk about and so on. We do have to make the bingo card, George. We really do need to make the bingo card. That could be fun. That could be real fun. And think of the massive cash and prizes we'll be giving out. Considering the ridiculous pay rate that we pay each other, the cash and prizes we could give out could be extraordinary. But I do want to thank you, and I mean that with all sincerity. I really, truly do.
Thank you.
Mean it. I thank you. You are you are my dear friend, and I mean it with all my heart. And I just appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sitting here. And but the video thing, which is a terribly technical term, but the video that we were able to add, the pictures, the video presentation that we were able to accomplish tonight, or that you were able to accomplish on my behalf tonight, because I had nothing to do with it other than blabbering on, is what I wanted to accomplish. And we did it on the fly during this very special presentation. This extra edition of the Kennedy Effect was mostly came from you. It's what I wanted to achieve. It's an addition to the show as we continue to grow this program. So all my thanks, all my sincere, heartfelt thanks to George for that. So I want to say thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Apparently the Zoom makes the images larger, so I have to work on that. So
Well,
when I'm
yeah,
putting
we
them up,
cross that
it
bridge.
kind of obscures them. So
Well, because it's the rectangle instead of the square. I think the one meme I sent you was the perfect square, and I think when it got up, yeah, it did get a little weird. But I think you can get the gist of it. But we can start showing videos and stuff, and we're gonna shake it out. It's getting better and better. That's the good thing. We had a lot of phone calls tonight. For those of you who are afraid to call the program, you can tell now that it doesn't hurt a bit. We won't, we won't shout. We won't. It won't hurt a bit. It's not a biggie. We can do this. We can have these discussions. Phone calls are okay. I am getting a text, and I shouldn't be answering it right now because
I tried to get my friend John to call.
I thought it was a little news.
He was a little.
I thought it was a
out
little
of it
news
on election day. So
I did get a report of a former Democratic mayoral candidate wearing a shirt for a state rep candidate, handing out literature for the Republican congressional candidate. Sounds like schizophrenia. It literally sounds like schizophrenia to me. I hope they kick her out of the party. It's madness. But anyway, so I want to very much say thank you to you. Let's just review. It is 6:32 Eastern time. We're probably going to sign off because I want to hand it off to. I want everyone who is watching and listening to go to. There's going to be a myriad of other Zoom rooms opening up and groups and other things that you may be a part of. You might have social plans that you're doing through Zooms. Candidates that you've supported will probably be having Zooms. There's no shortage of Zoom rooms I can be in tonight, but I'm still going to be going to bed at some point, relatively early. You should turn to the national news and try to start getting results. I beg you all to be tuned in. Watch what's going on. I'm already getting electoral vote totals coming to me from The Guardian at almost every 60 seconds or so. I pray to God this doesn't happen all night. I'm going to have to put the do not disturb on my phone or I'm never going to sleep. Some polls have closed. I can't tell you what states they have closed in. I am not here to try to compete with the national news. I can't do that. We're just not equipped for that. What I wanted to hear, what was going on around the Commonwealth, and I was hoping to hear a little bit from around the country. We didn't get there, but we got around the Commonwealth. We had a good number of phone calls. Nothing on the Twitter and nothing on the email, but that's okay. This was a late edition. This was a special edition of the program. And I feel pretty darn good about how it went. So that's awesome. If I could do this program as my full-time job and be with you 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, this is what I would do for a living. So this was a step forward. And I appreciate every single one of you who is here with me for this program. I appreciate every single caller that called in. Bob, Sarah, Taylor, Michelle, Lisa, Becky. I don't think I forgot anyone, and if I did, boy, will I hear it. But I don't think I forgot anyone. Of course, I know I just thanked George, but I thank him again so very, very much. I hope that we can, the video portion. Oh, and Agira, of course, for popping in. She was going to be with me for the whole duration of the show. but she fulfilled her civic duty and worked at the polling place. I mean, you can't argue with that. I think she'll be with me on Sunday as part of the roundtable on Sunday. If you are still with us and listening, especially to our friends and family at hot101.net and thinking to yourself, I want my music, and what is this guy speaking at me? Our regularly scheduled time frame for the Kennedy Effect is Sundays from 5 p.m. Eastern time. That would be 2 p.m. Wait, are we still at 4 time zones now? Or are we down to 3 now that we changed to standard time? I can't remember. George, I think we're at 3 time zones. 2 p.m. Pacific. That is our regularly scheduled time frame. You can join the Kennedy Effect for our regular time, Sundays from 5 p.m. Eastern time. Join us then. We will be having a roundtable with several guests discussing and breaking down everything about this election. We should have all the results by then. We should know exactly what's happening in our nation and in our individual states, in the United States Senate, United States House by then. And it should be sorted out by Sunday, I would hope. And if it's not, then we'll have that to talk about. So 5 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Eastern time for our regular time slot for the Kennedy Effect. We'll see you on Sunday. That would be November the 8th. But for this special edition, I want to thank everyone who called. I want to thank everyone who watched, wherever you watched on Facebook, to our sisters and brothers and friends and family, to DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and of course, April Riddick, who I know is out there right now listening. She has actually been assisting driving folks to and from the polls all day long today in the city of Allentown, Pennsylvania. I know she's listening. To everybody. Literally, thank you very, very much. If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, then join us every Sunday. And I hope this will not be a one-shot, that this will not be the only special edition that we bring you. We want to continue to grow the program, grow the callers. If you want to see the recording of this program, it will be all over Facebook. Everywhere that the program is shared, it lives there as a recording. The home group page for the program is That Other Side of Information on Facebook. That Other Side of Information on Facebook. That Other Side of Information. You can also request to become a member of the page. You can go to That Other Side of Information on Instagram. Our YouTube channel is called That Other Side of Information. You can find us on Twitter at That Kennedy Talk. You can email us thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. So for tonight, that is it. Please find a national news outlet that you enjoy watching and that you trust, and watch the returns. Be tuned in. This is your nation. It's your states. It's your counties. They are your towns. They're your neighborhoods. They're your neighbors. They're your friends. They're your family. Tune in and see what's happening. It's too important. On the commercials, tune in something funny. Take a break from it. But watch the returns. Tune in. It's too important. For now, we will say goodnight. We appreciate every single one of you. And we will see you Sunday evening for our political roundtable breaking down the entire election. I'm Jeff Kennedy for George Dare, for all our phone callers, and for April Riddick, for DJ Lex, for DJ Earl. Again, I'm Jeff Kennedy. We'll see you on Sunday from 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Thank you again for being here for this special edition of the Kennedy Effect. If you have not voted yet, go vote. You still have time, especially our friends in the Western time zones. I'm in Pennsylvania, so for our friends in the Western time zones, if you have not voted yet, find out when your polls close. If you are in the Central time zone, if you're in Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, no, I think Michigan's still in the Eastern time zone. If you're in, Montana has an important Senate race. Texas, Colorado, California in the Pacific time zone. Arizona has a very important Senate race. Please go vote. It's not too late. It's not too late. Go vote. Let your voice be heard. Your vote is your voice. Do not be silent. Do not be silent. Again, for April Riddick, DJ Lex, DJ Earl, George Dare, all our callers, and every single one of you who joined us, thank you, thank you, thank you. We return in our regular time slot this Sunday, 8 November from 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. Until then, tune in, watch the results, be informed. Stay healthy, stay safe, wear a mask. We'll see you on Sunday.